Are you tired of those energy drinks that are breaking your bank and quite possibly making your blood sugar shoot to the moon? Well, get your hands on Dubby energy drinks. Go to dubby.gg. They have a whole array of flavors from Calio Cream, Pushing Punch Energy, Galaxy Grenade. They also have a flavor called Dub Sludge. And if you like creative flavors, they even have one called Dragon Aid Energy Drink. And they have some limited flavors now that I haven't tried yet, but it's Mayhem Energy Drink. Now they also have a sampler pack. They've got quite a bit of ingredients that will really boost your energy in a way that's not going to give you a drop off. So good example, they don't have any sugars. They do have a nootropic blend which helps with focus and energy. There's no maltodextrins, no artificial colors, no dyes, no fillers. It's about $1 per drink, so it's very cost effective. And for those of you that like to work out, maybe you do your CrossFit, maybe you're a bodybuilder, well, you definitely want to get your hands on Dubby energy drinks. They give you laser focus for your brain food. They got L-taurine, L-tyrosine, L-glutamine, L-citrulline, and these are the amino acids that will benefit not just your brain function, but it might just make you smarter. Now, no guarantees on the smarter, but I will say energy focus, concentration, and reaction. You want to go to Dubby energy drinks. That's dubby.gg. Be sure to check out to put in GLO, that's G-L-O, GLO 808, and you get 10% off your entire order. That's Dubby energy drinks at dubby.gg. I'm excited to have this guest with us today, and it's kind of rare that I get to have a childhood friend, someone that I share some memories with when I was a youth. And I met this gentleman 30 plus years ago in South Carolina. That's right. This Hawaiian actually used to live in the South. And throughout the years, we kind of kept in touch. He became a worship leader in a mega church, and I became a pastor years later. We've both had some stories along the way that would challenge even your theology and even your thinking of what is our true meaning and our existence here on this planet. So I'm glad to have my friend here. He's going to talk about diabetes, atheism. We're going to talk a little bit about playing guitar, our favorite music, aspirations for our new careers, and talking about life coaching, health coaching. And I believe, family, there's going to be a few of you that may actually get something really powerful from today's podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so glad, very excited to have my dear friend from South Carolina, Chris Cashion.
Every day like this, it's a brand new day. Hey, wake up every morning and say it's a brand new day. Hey, take a good day, make it great, okay? 'Cause if you got some lemons, make some lemonade. Yeah, chase those clouds away. It's a brand new day. Hey, it's a brand new day.
Yes, sir.
It's a brand new day. Okay.
I just noticed your ink on your left arm.
Yeah.
What is that red? What is that red?
Oh, well, now which red?
There's one right above the curvature of your arm, or right here. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. It was an Erwin McManus book, The Barbarian Way, and I believe this was chapter 4 or chapter 5.
I'm gonna write that down. Erwin McManus.
The Barbarian Way. But it's a mosaic of Christ.
Interesting. So I'm trying to, maybe I'm going to put you on Zoom. Hold on one second. I'm going to zoom you in. That's interesting.
Yeah.
How much ink you got percentage wise in your body?
Well, this entire arm is being recovered currently.
Gotcha.
A lot of the tribal just sort of it was a fad back when I was still playing music, and so I had the tribal, so I looked like that cool guitar player. And then a buddy of mine who is a tattoo artist here in town, he wanted a couple of guitars, and I have more than my fair share, and so we traded. And I gave him a couple of guitars, and he's going to redo this entire sleeve. So, but the mosaic will stick around. And I have another tattoo from the Barbarian Way right here on my shoulder, and it's a lion's head with little warriors coming out the top of it.
Out of the mane?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know if you can actually see that.
Let me zoom in real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it.
So pretty fun, pretty cool. I mean, I've been getting tattooed since, gosh, I guess I was 25.
I'm terrified of needles, bro.
Well,
Major.
bro, be a diabetic for a while. Needles are easy.
Well, it's okay. Here's a funny thing, right? And I'm public about this now. I wasn't for a while, but for anybody that knew me, like, dude, you're not natural. I used to do steroids, so I would sit in the bathroom for hours. I'm not even kidding, Chris, bro. Like trying to negotiate. I would literally talk to myself and negotiate. Just stick it in. You can do it. I was coaching myself. Just do it. Just do it. So I would draw with the 18, right?
Yeah.
And then I would switch the needle to a 20. 25. Okay, this is so funny. I'm saying this now. 25. I was freaking out about a 25 needle. Can you imagine that?
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and you don't feel it, right? And you don't feel it. Like,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, some of
But
the needles that I use these days are so thin. It's really hard to feel anything anymore.
You ever got a because I would bruise, right?
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't be able to shoot in that leg, or I only shot at my quads or my rear end. So
Yeah.
one time I got so bad, and I don't know what else, because the reality is, if you do steroids, like, you can't just go to like Walmart. Hey, can I get a bottle of testosterone? No, you got to find it, right? So some of the batches I took were like, I don't know where they came from, right? So my leg would be swollen, and I couldn't walk for a while. So, sometimes you don't know what you're putting in your body. So
Well, okay, so how long have you been off roids?
it's been a while.
Yeah.
What year? So we opened a drug rehab in 2019 in Kailua in Hawaii. So obviously you can't open up a drug and alcohol rehab and you're shooting stuff up your rear end with needles.
That's fair.
Yeah, at least from there. What year are we in? 24?
24, yeah.
24, 5. Probably at least 7 years. At least. Yeah.
That's wild. Wow. Never took steroids. I guess I'm just naturally beautiful.
Yeah, you could have, and it'd be so easy for you, but
Yeah. Well, I just throw the kettlebells and the slam balls. Let it be.
you still doing kettlebells?
Oh Lord, yeah. Kettlebells, Indian clubs, maces, and slam balls. Yeah. Just anything to fully functional.
Slam ball is a big, heavy, rubbery one.
Yep. Just I throw those. I mean, just depending on the day, I wake up about 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, and after about a half a pot of coffee, the next stop is coming downstairs to go to my gym and work out for a while.
You have your own gym, right? I'm guessing.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm too cheap and too lazy to go to a gym.
We have a barn, which is I told my boys we're gonna get some stuff, and because I'm not traveling like how I used to, so my dad actually got me a membership because I travel a lot, so he got me a membership so I can take a shower and work out, but I'm slowing down a lot, so definitely in our barn we're gonna have a little. I don't know what we're gonna get, honestly, because everything I've trained for growing up, and I say growing up, but was all about aesthetics. It was never really about endurance and strength. It was just to look good, right? So
absolutely. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Being 50 and being fit, and most of the guys in my shop, well, they're in shape, but it's pear, circle, nothing appealing. And I'm older than all of them, and I'm in the best shape of everybody, and I'm just like, kettlebells, got that.
Well, a lot of people don't even think about nutrition is actually, if you eat crap, you're going to look like, you know what I mean? You're not going to look good, or you're not going to feel good if you're eating terrible.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the good thing, like with the whole diabetes thing. I hate to say that there's something good about diabetes, but it's kept me on a eating schedule, eating plan, so I don't deviate. It's never about, all the different diets and all of the fads and whatever. It's just, do what you got to do, So I think the diabetes brought together with all of my exercise, I think it's just natural. That I've figured out how to, be healthy and stay healthy.
Do you do cold plunge?
Do I do what?
The cold plunge or ice baths?
Nope.
No.
Nope. I mean, no. I don't know. I hate the cold.
I met this guy last year, and he has this warehouse in this place called Redmond, Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
And so he showed me his warehouse, his shop, and we're just walking around, and I'm like, he was telling me, you got to check this out. So he had these, I guess they're like a hot tub. It looks like a hot tub, but it's not a hot tub. It's an ice tub. And so he was telling me he's got these pumps, and they push water at whatever speed you want it and whatever temperature you want it. And so he was telling me that people that do the ice plunge, it's good, I guess, because it gets your blood pumping to your heart, right? Your body naturally wants to protect itself. So I asked him, what's the difference with what you've got? Because it's got jets. It's like a jet of cold water. And he said, ice plunges are great, but our temperature never changes because it's constantly flowing.
Right.
So it mimics the river. So the rivers here and where we live, they're ice melt.
Yeah.
So at that time, I couldn't remember the name of the company. He just told me, he threw out some celebrities out there that were buying his pools. I thought, oh, that's cool. I'm listening to Joe Rogan one night, and Joe Rogan's like, yeah, I got this blue cube. They're from my friends out there in Redmond, Oregon. I'm like, oh, that's what he was telling me. And Theo Vaughn, another podcaster, he was telling a story on how there was a guy in California who had a restaurant or something. And he said that, hey, promote my restaurant. And so Theo Vaughn was making money from this guy's ad revenue from his restaurant. Well, long story short, connecting the dots, the guy that helped Theo Vaughn in the very beginning, who had a restaurant, that's the guy that I met.
Wow.
In Redmond. Yeah, so what a weird story. I'm talking about the ice plunge and such an interesting story. I'm like, it's crazy people you meet. You don't even know. I didn't care, honestly, but I was just like, oh, wow, okay, that's cool. Like,
yeah.
So that whole ice plunge, I'm really thinking about, I can't afford that one. That one is like $18,000. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I'll just jump in the tub and throw some ice cubes in.
Yeah. I'll jump in for half a second.
Right.
Yeah.
I have this thing that I keep for when I mess up my shoulder or my knees or whatever while I'm doing kettlebells. But it's called a freeze sleeve. And those, oh man, when I abuse my shoulders or my knees too much, put them on, and it will freeze out anything, any kind of swelling. And then it just centralizes and then flushes out that entire system. So that way fresh blood can come in. But man, that thing gets colder than a freezer. And so I'll specifically freeze out if I have to. But that's only if I'm injured.
So how do you store it somewhere in a refrigerator or freezer? Like,
yeah.
Or does it? Okay.
Well, all you got to do, it comes with a substantial plastic bag. This thing is really thick. But yeah, I leave it in the freezer, right beside the New York Strip. And
Newark. Yeah, we gotta talk about that,
dude. So, but yeah, I leave it in there, and just when I need it, I'll use it, and it'll just freeze everything out. So it's pretty cool. I like it. I mean, I think I paid like $60 for it, but it was really cool.
We'll talk about New York Strip in a second, but when you was talking about diabetes and like we're talking about all that health stuff,
yeah.
I don't know if you remember this, but I remember there was a story. I can't remember what grade we were in, but you were telling me that you picked up a milk carton at Ingles. You bent over to pick up a milk carton, and next thing you know, you blacked out. You couldn't remember anything, and I remember you saying something about your diabetes. You had what is it, a seizure, or you blacked out? One of those two.
Yeah, typically if your glucose goes too low, you sort of blackout. So, yeah, back in those days, I was probably more prone to blacking out than I am these days.
When's the last time you had one?
Ooh, see, Sims is 24 now, and he was maybe 12, so maybe 12 years ago.
That's good.
Yeah. And really, you know, it was just a miscalculation on my part, but it was one that luckily Sims was there, and even at 12 years old, he kind of he went to bat and took charge. So that's pretty cool.
What do you mean miscalculation? Like diet or what do you mean?
No, that particular evening we had went to we had a Bible study at a friend's house, and it was no joke, probably very little Bible study and a whole lot of barbecue.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and everybody loves to eat, and everybody at that house, we all love to eat. So there were desserts, all kinds of stuff. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take this much insulin, and then I'll be ready to eat. So I hunkered down on meat, which, you know, protein, very little carbs.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just ate and ate and ate, but I hunkered down on veggies and meat. And so all of that insulin had nothing to digest like carbohydrates. And so we got home, and my son and I just sat down and watched some TV. I pass out, he passes out, and he wakes up to me flopping like a fish in a Pentecostal church. And it, you know, got out the glucagon kit, bam, right in the arm. And I couldn't use my arm for like a week. So yeah, that was my last seizure. Never want to have another one.
Do you ever remember things when you're blacked out? Do you ever have memories of those things?
Nope.
Nothing.
No. I mean, just it's one of those states that, you know, I guess the best way to describe it is that your body is trying to harness all the energy it can, and no sugar, you know, that can be converted into energy. You know, it's keeping vital organs going. It's, you know, everything else just gets depleted. And that's why, like, you know, one of my doctors told me that the lower I allow my glucose to be out of a healthy range, that I'm really just inviting dementia.
Interesting.
So I don't go low anymore. My glucose does not go low. So, you know, that seizure scared me, and then, you know, all the information that my endocrinologist had put me back on tap.
So dementia, I'm guessing, man, that's like if your body is fighting constantly, right, with seizures and blacking out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess what is it that the body protects first, the brain or the heart?
You know, well, wow, that's a good one. I don't know.
Right?
I really don't, because, you know, heck, protect the brain, man, because the brain, like, keeps everything functioning. But I don't know.
I think it's the heart. I might be wrong, but I'll research it. I think the heart is probably the first. I don't know. That is a great question, though. I do know in babies, though, that's the first organ to develop.
Yeah,
is the heart. So that's a great question.
That's a fantastic question.
I never thought about it. Like, man, I'm genius. I'm going to be rich. Just kidding. Hey, speaking of rich, family, for those that don't know, I am a proud Android user, and so Chris was sending me a text earlier, and I sent him one back, and he brought up this terminology called poverty green. What is it? Poverty green bubbles.
Poverty green bubbles.
Yeah. So before he could flex his iPhone superiority on me, I wanted to remind, hey, I do have an iPhone too. I just don't use it for personal use. I use it for business purposes. So as a reminder for those of you that are watching a live stream, if you're on an Android device, I do apologize. Twitter does not love you. They don't care about you. but you can't watch the replay on another device. You can't comment or anything like that. But anyways, talking about diabetes, did the Skittles actually help you? Remember, you used to eat a lot of Skittles,
bro. I still eat Skittles. Like,
you still. That's funny.
Just the other day, man, I was at the store and I keep a pack or two in my car, and Steph will keep some with her. And and it's just one of those things. It's like that. It's that comfort blanket that you have just in case something goes wrong.
So that's kind of like an EpiPen for diabetics, basically.
Amen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that or a Snickers or a Twix or a big old batch of Oreos or anything not good for you.
Well, is it the high fructose corn syrup that helps, or is that better than sugar? Do you think? I don't know.
It's not necessarily that. It's just it's bringing your carbohydrates, trying to find a way to bring your glucose back up, to bring it level. Not everybody. I mean, I'm an anomaly, I guess, because I use Skittles. But I love Skittles. But a lot of people, man, they'll use orange juice or grape juice or apple juice or something like that. So it's sugar, and probably the less processed, the better. But yeah, it's just trying to get your body back up to a normal level. Really, I guess that's really the best way I know to explain that.
Well, you can't take grape juice in your pocket to school, right? And sneak it in your. So for those that know the backstory, I remember when I first met Chris, I'm like, dude, who is this guy eating candy in class? Doesn't he know like you can't be eating candy? What the heck, bro? And I'm thinking, I want whatever hall pass that he's got, and so I later found out he's diabetic, type 1. Well, I didn't know what type 1 was, but he had like some kind of note that gave him right. He had a note or something, right, that said you could do it.
Yeah, my mother was such a nitpicky, and I mean that in the best way possible. But she was going to make sure I caught no flack from anyone. So I remember when we were in school together, she went to our principal and said, "Hey, here's the deal. Share the news." At that was it. Nobody questioned anything.
I do remember there was a substitute teacher that questioned you, and you had a note in your pocket, or you had something handy.
Really?
Or something. Maybe you were lying. I don't know. I just remember the teacher was giving you flack about it, and then you're like, "No, it's legal. I can do this, right?" So I can't remember what teacher it was, but
oh man,
you were in French class, right? Was it you? You were in French class with me, or I can't remember.
I don't remember taking. Well, no, wait, I did take French, and I took Latin, but French is real blurry. I don't remember really much about that.
I don't even remember. I just remember our teacher. I think he was gay. Nothing wrong with that, by the way, in the sense of the context of what we're talking about. But it was just back then, there's something wrong with it. Like, wait, and it's a Christian school on top of that. I think he was gay, but I think I joined the class because whatever girl I liked at the time, I think she was in it. So I think that's why
who was the girl?
I can't remember. Honestly, there's not a lot. And I probably won't mention the names just in case. But, and then I knew, so for anybody that remembers school back in the 80s and 90s, like if you took a certain class, it was guaranteed that you would take some kind of field trip, or at least that's what I thought. So, and then you would have food, because in that class we did have some food. So,
wow.
But yeah, your Skittles, bro. I remember your Skittles was definitely, that was a unique trademark of Chris Cashion. And then our pants. Do you remember our pants? I used to wear these baggy pants.
It's like it was MC Hammer pants or something.
Exactly. Yeah. And then your cousin, I became really attached to your cousin. Missy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not in an inappropriate way. It's just kind of because I've never had a sister, right? And I think you're a single child, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't know what it was like to have a sister. I have a brother, but so it was kind of cool to have someone that just talked, and she was so cool, and she was like from Venezuela, or she was in Venezuela or something.
Missionaries in Venezuela.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, they were a lot of fun when they came to the same school we were at. That was a lot of fun because I think it was Missy who was the one who just hunkered down or just really dug in on me about a relationship with Christ. And I was like, whatever. And then, so the road. But
you know what? She was a kind of a good Christian, yeah, if that's even a term. She was
she's a good person.
Good person, yeah, good person.
Her and me both are just super good people. I really dig them too. I don't get to talk to them hardly at all. I mean, maybe a Facebook message every 5 years, but still, they're pretty great people.
But I brought her up because I have a picture of me wearing my MC Hammer pants. And for some reason, it was her and this other girl named Kelly. I can't remember her last name.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. But, there's not a lot of people that, because, let me ask you this. When you first saw me, or your impression of me, we're 30-something years now in the future, but what was I to you? Just, I'm curious. What was I to you? Like, was I like that weird looking guy, or what? I'm just curious.
The word that sticks with me is doofus.
I love it. Because
we're both very personable. We have strong personalities. We're very determined, very focused people, but we're also just spastic.
Yeah.
And so it was like one and the same was meeting each other, and I was going, I run this town, and you ran the town, and I was like, oh no, now I got to fight somebody crazy. Not fight, but I have to emotionally tie in with you somehow. And then we wind up being homies, and I'm just like, okay, I like that better.
It was awkward for me, right? Because I'm somebody that's so where we lived, I can't remember where we lived at the time when I met you, but I just know that we lived. So my parents, I always joke about it, but we weren't poor, we weren't broke, but my parents left the corporate world to become pastors, right? So we're in the South, they're going to Bible college. And I'm like, I live in a white neighborhood that was poor.
Yeah.
But right across the street was a black neighborhood, and nobody crossed that line. It was so strange. Nobody crossed the line, either or. And me, I'm like, I don't know. I don't care. I ride my bicycle to the black neighborhood, come back. And now that I'm older, I'm like, okay, that was probably pretty risky because there was some pretty sketchy stuff. So the awkwardness was when I was in a private school. My parents sacrificed a lot to put us in private school.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't have a lot of friends that I really could trust, I guess, if that's the word, right?
Right.
So I don't know if I would have doofus for you, but I would say this dude thinks he's something special. That's what I was like. This guy thinks he's something special, and I will say I'm so glad, man. I met you all those years ago because, I can't say a lot. I had a lot of people that would, my cheat code back then was, I'm that dude from Hawaii, right?
Yeah,
but
right, exactly.
That doesn't mean nothing now. People are like, there's so much diversity now compared to when we were growing up. So
yeah, and I was trying to figure out initially which continent you came from.
Which continent? And I didn't even come from a continent, right? Which is
yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what was funny. But I think we had some fun. We definitely had some fun at school. Probably too much.
Hey, let's talk about Jesus first, since you brought it up, or Christianity. So when we met, I know I was a Christian, quote unquote Christian, because I actually made although my parents kind of laid everything out for us, right? Because I'm a kid, but I did make a conscious decision, and actually Missy was actually very. I agree with you. She was kind of beneficial in me, like kind of self-convicting myself, right?
Right.
What about you? Like, what was that like for you back then? I think Washington Avenue was our school we went to.
Yeah. Dude, I was raised in religion.
Yeah.
And, my mom was terrified of what public school would do to me. Hence why I was really stuck into religious schools. And so, before Washington Avenue, I went in to Southside Christian and got in with some of the rowdy guys. Got kicked out of there because I wrote "Raise Hell" this summer in a.
Wait, you got kicked out of Southside?
I did, yeah.
What?
Yeah, for "Raise Hell" this summer. Of all the things I did at that school, and they got me for that. I was like, that's candy, man. But then I came to Washington Avenue, and still very anti-religion. Not necessarily, hate God, hate everything. It was just, no, I've been raised in it. I'm done. I don't want anything to do with it. I'm 15. Let me go live my life. And yeah, I had no interest. Like, putting me in Christian schools it was an aggravation. But I think my parents just wanted me to be good or better than what I was.
Well, I tell you this much, like, I think in that area in the South, I remember when we moved there, we were like, I remember we wanted to go eat or go shopping, and we were like, why is everybody closed? It's like, it's a weekend. And
yeah,
I never forget that. On Sundays, they don't open till like after church. It was such a weird thing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's why I'm grateful now, man. Like, everything opens at normal time on Sundays.
Yeah. Well, technically, Sunday's not even the seventh day of the week. It's actually the first. So
exactly. So Saturday,
yeah,
we should be doing, but instead we do it on Sunday. It's habit, the power of habit.
Yeah.
Doesn't make it right, just makes it habit.
Did you ever? So I think I slept over at your house at least once, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
you know,
a handful of times too.
Say that again.
I said I slept over at your house a handful of times.
I don't remember that. Are you really?
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
I don't remember that. What the heck?
I don't know what we were doing, but somehow I wound up at your house, and it was a couple times, and we hung out, camped out, did our thing, and went on.
That's why I don't even remember. How come I don't remember that? What town? What town did I live in at the time? I don't even remember where because we lived in quite a few places.
Yeah. I don't remember. I mean, I don't. Probably, I would say it would have to be, in the Greenville area.
We had a house, dude. Even to this day, it's still crazy. So I don't know how we got the house, but it was like a 5-acre property, right? And so the deal was like I would have to like cut grass or something and just take care of the property and
right.
But every week or so, I would see somebody like in the fields, like cutting grass or they're planting something. I was like, wow. I was thinking, and I didn't know. I'm so naive. I'm thinking, wow, Dad, we have our own farm. We have our own vegetables. I'm thinking, and my dad said, no, it's not ours. But when somebody comes and they grow vegetables and that was this place called Jacobs Road. I remember it was Jacobs Road in Greenville. I don't know where about, but that was a long time ago. But dude, I don't remember you sleeping. I don't remember none of that.
Oh yeah. Like I said, man, it was just a couple times, but I remember doing that because I would never go spend the night anywhere because my parents were protective.
I remember your mom, and correct me if I'm wrong. So my mom passed away in 2014. Your mom, how many years now?
She passed away in 2015.
Okay. Oh wow, pretty close.
Yeah.
Well, let me say this, and I know this is public and all that. But I just want to say, man, I apologize I wasn't there for you, man. Like, just we got distant, right, throughout the years.
Dude, we live life, and
Yeah.
we intersect where we do, and where we don't, we don't. And I mean, and you know, too. Picked up where we left off, but no apologies. You know, that's just life. We live, we die, and we've got to accept that.
What kind of music? Your bandmates? What type of music you guys play?
Well, my old bandmates, the guys that I was on the road with and wrote records with, we were all that Christian alternative pop stuff.
Christian alternative pop.
Oh yeah. I mean,
you get some gigs with that genre. At least you can. You got a wide array of styles.
Man, I'll tell you this: we never went without shows, and we got to open up for some pretty big names, and had a ball. I mean, I say pretty big names in Christian music. Pretty big names are like, you know, successful bar bands.
Throw some names out there. Just curious.
Skillet.
Oh, okay.
Common Children. All Star United. Eric Champion. The Grand.
Ooh, Eric Champion.
Yeah.
He's a good guitar player, right? That's the guy that plays guitar. He can play guitar, right? No.
I don't know.
I got him mixed up.
Jackie Velasquez. But she was headlining the same festival we were playing. So I guess technically we opened up for her, but maybe technically not. And Rocket Boy. Oh, those were my favorite guys on the planet.
Rocket Boy.
Yeah, Rocket Boy. They were out of Atlanta, Georgia. They were signed to Tooth and Nail Records. And all of those guys.
You remember Bride?
Oh, do I ever? I had my first car wreck to Bride.
I don't know. I can't remember the name of the church, but I remember some. I don't know. I don't even remember how I got this, but somebody said, "Hey, we need help setting up the stage and stuff." Yeah, whatever. I didn't know who it was, and so we were setting up the stage at this huge church. It's a 4,000 member church. I can't remember the name of it. It was in Greenville, Easley, maybe. I don't know. And we set up the stage, and it started raining. And so the stage guy was like, we got to figure out how to, at least cover the stage. And so they had everything ready, but then it stopped raining. And then I never forget, this band comes flying in this parking lot. And there's like maybe 100 people in the parking lot. There's not a lot. It was very small.
Yeah.
And this van comes flying in there. I'm like, wow, these two minivans are just, and then this tall guy steps out, huge guy, tall, like not huge, but tall. He was a bass player. And then this huge heavyset guy gets out with a big fat belly. And he was a drummer. Jerry Bloom, I think his name is.
Yeah.
And so we helped him take the instruments out. And then I realized, and I kind of knew who they were because I kind of looked them up, but I just never really listened to the music. And man, I'll never forget, man, they rocked that place out. Like just that sound and the guitar. I think he uses a Gretsch. I can't remember what he used. but it was a beautiful sound. I love the sound.
Yeah.
And a lot of feedback. It would just feedback like crazy because it was a kind of hollow body, right?
Yeah.
So it kept, and of course that was by design. But I never forget, I was kind of starstruck in a way, and then the drummer, I never forget, he was rocking it out. His belly was bouncing every time. It was so funny, that memory. But they started raining, so they paused playing. So we put the tarp up, and then Troy he said, "Hey man, can you hold this for a second? I gotta grab something." So in the middle of the song, the drummer was doing a solo, bass player, so I'm holding his guitar, and I'm kind of like, I'm a teenager. I'm like, wow, I'm holding this guy's guitar. And I started to feel this buzz in my arm. And I was getting a little like electricity. And it was connected to his amp, whatever. And I'm like, wow, this feels nuts. And because it was raining, dude, they're playing in the rain. And I was like, wow. What I felt, that electricity, I'm thinking, this dude is playing in the rain. And he's probably feeling the same thing I'm feeling. I never forget that. He did that one song, Psychedelic Jesus, I think the name of the song is.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, dude, that song was like, even to this day, it's one of my favorite songs, just because I was there, and it's so simple. The song is not even complicated at all.
I've still got, I've got to look and see what tape it is, but I've got a Bride tape in my SUV. And just never got rid of it, man. Like, just, pop it in, play it, see what, remind yourself a little bit. But then
to our young listeners, they're like, "What the heck is a tape?" What the
reel to reel, man? Not even 2-inch, man. This is like a 1/16 of an inch, man. Wow. But yeah, man, pop a tape in, and then have to fast forward through half the album just to get to your favorite song. Absolutely fantastic. And right beside that Bride record, I also have the B-52s.
Oh yeah.
And and Stripers and God We Trust.
That's my favorite album, believe it or not. A lot of people are like, well, okay, I take that back. That's my favorite album of that era, because they have different eras, right?
Right.
I think To Hell the Devil would have been my favorite album if and just my personal preference, if it was mixed better.
Yeah.
If it had a better, to me, the drums didn't have that boom that I like. In God We Trust didn't either, but at least the drums they're I don't know. I felt they mix it very clean. A lot of the higher end.
Yeah.
You hear that snare, that pop of the snare. So
yeah. Well, what was great is Robert Sweet. Every time he would play drums, the hair's going, the cymbals are hanging down by chains, and he's playing in the round, man. He's just going all the way around. I would go see Striper live just to watch Robert Sweet all night long.
And you remember I texted you last year, right, when we went to see them. I wish you could have made it, because they're getting older. But Robert Sweet, even now, he don't pull back as like how he used to. But I noticed now that we're older, I understand. It was all not illusion, but it was all, obviously he hits hard. No, even at this age, he hits hard still. But I think he does it in a much more safer, because he was talking about, because we got to see them backstage. We paid the extra money, right, to hang out with them.
Right.
And one of the things he talked about was, because he had to have surgery. And so, because all those years of just hitting, he had to learn how to hit properly.
Yeah.
Versus, so when he does his arm, he swings around his whole body.
Yeah.
It's got that illusion that he's like an animal, but really it's kind of like stretching his arm out, and he's such a genius move, and it looks cool on stage, Oh,
absolutely. I used to love Striper's stage show. It was absolutely fantastic.
And they're really good. They're actually really good. Like, and I'm not like, I play guitar obviously, but I'm not like, obviously Sims, your son's level, but to do what they do night in and night out, and remember every solo on every song when you've got 100 songs in your repertoire.
Yeah.
To me, that's legit. I don't care who you are. That's legit to remember. Because I've heard some solos where guys are just running through the motion and it's not even in the right key. They're just run, you know what I mean? They're just running.
Yeah.
You know,
Think about those guys, man. How long have they been at it?
40 years at least.
At least. I bet you money that. Well, one, I would probably think it would be muscle memory, but just from my time playing music, you rehearse a lot, and you know, you rehearse so you look polished on stage. So you know, I mean I appreciate it. Don't get me wrong. Every show we go to, I mean, I'm grateful. Like, I'm grateful for all the prep work that they put into it. Like, oh my gosh, a couple weeks ago, have you heard of the band Steel Panther?
Is that the photos that was up on your Facebook?
Yeah.
I never heard of them, but I looked them up. And, oh, they're pretty good.
Dude, I'm gonna tell you what. To be a mock '80s hair band, and wow, I sounded really southern. But to be a mock '80s hair band, and then make money in this age, doing the same thing that was done in the '80s, genius. And
yeah.
The show is stereotypical '80s, man. Sex, drugs, rock and roll. They embody it so well too. It is so funny. The entire comedy show that goes with the show is great. It's almost, is it a comedy show or is it a concert? So that's where I'm at with them. But you know, they're fun. They're a lot of fun.
Are you gonna you gonna play? You think you ever play again and get a band and just kind of?
You know, I play a little bit here and there. There's some buddies of mine that I that teach at music and arts, which is where I'm at right now until I finish school. But they have a band, a local, you know, bar band, cover band, whatever. And occasionally they'll call and ask me to come and fill out the sound. And I'll do that once every 2 or 3 months. But I don't really, I don't know that I care to ever really play again.
On that capacity.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I would.
Yeah.
I'd never put it to full time again.
I used to play in my brother's band, and I actually got, just for the record, I got fired from my own brother's band, which is that's a whole nother story, because I hated to. No, let's take that back. It's not that I hated to practice. It's just that I couldn't make it to all the practices, and when I did make it out, I just got off work. You know, and I'm tired. You know, I got kids, and my wife is at home, and so I didn't really enjoy the practices because I knew I could play this stuff.
Yeah.
But the problem was I didn't play to how they wanted it, right? So I would miss fills, I would miss accents and those kind of things.
Yeah.
But I loved it. Like, it was your top 40 stuff that we would play in Waikiki and some Hawaiian songs. But I don't think I would ever want to do that unless it was, like, for me personally, like ministry related, where there was something that I don't think I'd ever just do it just for the music.
Right.
You know, and it's interesting, right, how we both go 2 different ways. And one of my favorite things, man, is just to grab my guitar when I can and just worship, you know, like, yeah. I found this guitar, you can't really see it, but I'll pull it down. Dude, I found this guitar for $30.
What?
This is a cheapo El Cheapo the Jasmine line.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
$30. And the story is, sometimes we'll go like thrift shopping, I think they call it, or treasure hunting.
Yeah.
And this guitar was like literally brand new. So I check everything, check the keys, make sure the intonation, and this thing never goes out of tune. Never. Like, it's strange. It's so strange. Like, it's some sorcery. But yeah, $30, man. I love the way it sounds for $30. I'm like, it's the best $30 I ever spent.
Dude, I've had opportunities similar to yours and found some great guitars. I mean, I have a lot of guitars, and but But some of my favorites are my cheap ones.
Yeah.
The ones that have history with me. A lot of mine over to the left side of my room are Sims guitars. You know, all of the ones that he grew up playing and he really cut his teeth with and made it into music the way he did. And all of those, man, love them, never touch them. Cheap guitars, but we've just modified them and put new pickups in them and this, that, the other. And it is really freaking cool to have those.
He has his own songs.
Yeah.
That people play.
Yeah.
That people cover. I was watching before we went live. There's people that are covering your son's songs. I thought that was pretty, and those are hard songs, dude, or lick, whatever. I'm like, dude, what the heck? Okay, let's talk about him. Well, before we talk about him, how did you because when we were young, I know you were already gifted, right?
Right.
Did you stop getting better, or did you just like the passion was never to? Because your son is on a whole nother planet.
Oh, he's unique. Yeah. But no, I never really stopped. I think you know, playing in bands and recording and doing stuff like that, you can get stagnant.
Yeah.
Because you're just playing the same stuff like we were talking about with Striper or any other touring band. You'll get stagnant and you'll just play what you play and then you limit yourself. But, you know, after being with my bands, and then I was a worship leader and all that, you know, I sort of sat in that cover band mode for about 10 years and I hate to call myself as a worship leader being in a cover band, but, you know, we're a Jesus cover band.
Yeah.
But, you know, you can get stagnant playing. But when Sims really took off, it encouraged me to figure out what he was doing. And then instead of being able to figure it out, I would have him write tablature out so I could try to play what he played. And these days I still grow. Still got a lot of friends who are still in music and still doing stuff. And so I try to, you know, catch a nugget here, nugget there, everywhere, and just make it my own. But I'm definitely probably playing a little bit more country-ish these days.
Well, why is that? Is it the emotional aspect of it?
No, there's a guitar player out, and he's been out for years, decades. But his name is Brent Mason, and he's got a flair about the way he plays, and I love the way he plays, and that led me to Andy Wood, Justin Derrico, who is Pink's guitar player. And Justin is very rock and roll and very country, just like Andy Wood is. And Brent Mason stays a little bit more on the country side, but it's that twang, it's the accents, it's the moodiness of the way you play, the way you solo, do all that kind of stuff. So I just like it. I mean, you know, I played the rock and roll stuff, and rock and roll's easy.
Yeah, yeah.
I want a challenge, man. Like, you know, give me something to do that I have to focus on.
You know what's a challenge is anything Terry Bozzio. You ever listen to his stuff?
I know.
I think
I did.
Yeah, he's from that Frank Zappa era.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's next level. That's next level stuff. It's crazy. And since you brought up Zappa, I'm going to throw one at you for you to check out later. Dumb All Over.
I'm going to write it down. Dumb All Over.
Dude, you're going to love it. It's a great song. I think it's probably my favorite Zappa song, right beside what is it? Bobby Brown.
Wait, which Bobby Brown?
No. That's the name of the song.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait.
Yeah. There's more than one Bobby Brown.
Well, there was the Bobby Brown of the 80s, and there's another Bobby Brown. Can't remember. But, you know, we're talking about Frank Zappa. I never really got into it because I felt like I would need to be high to enjoy it. Like, you know what I mean? That's what I felt like. So, but.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess you could.
You
could be, but you really could. I mean, it would. I mean, I guess it might make the experience a little bit more enjoyable.
Well, I learned how to play music like in a rock format. So to me, everything was 2 and 4, right?
Yeah.
So when something challenged that, like I wasn't attracted to that. But now that I'm older, I appreciate it much more, especially Terry Bozzio. Although Terry Bozzio, he's gotten so crazy out there musically, like I don't think he even has a snare drum anymore. Like he's got he's got like, I want to say 400 drums all in a circle, just surrounds him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a symphony. He has a symphony of drums and cymbals. I think he's got probably double the cymbals of drums. Yeah, he's a musical genius. I can't listen to him more than like 10 minutes and I'm done because it's a lot. It's a lot to consume.
Yeah. Well, that's the same way with Zappa. Give me 2 songs from Zappa, I'm done.
Yeah. So that music we were talking about, do you enjoy more of the groove or the technical aspect of a song?
Technical aspects. If you can understand what they're doing and why they're doing it, oh man, it just makes you appreciate their effort, you know? Because, you know, wow. I mean, the groove is great. Now, if we're going to talk like hard rock and metal stuff, oh, it's absolutely the groove. With some technical sprinkled. But if we're talking rock and roll, country, blues, funk, it's all technical aspect. Just, I want to learn from it.
The videos I put in the beginning intro, one of them was you were playing with that band. It was Prince. I forget the other. Yeah, I got it from your Facebook, but yeah. Do you actually get into playing that type when you're just sitting in the pocket in that type of groove? Do you enjoy those type of playing?
Oh, dude, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just, at some point I don't want to say mindless, but you get to where your brain and your body connect. And then you just groove with what's happening.
I can James Brown for 30 minutes straight and I feel amazing. Anything James Brown with that simple,
Mm-hmm.
I can do that for hours and I'd be totally fine with that, you know.
With a solid yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hey, let's go back to, because I want to give some people some hope if they can. So in the diabetes, I know it's been 12 years. So I know you said you're going to school, right? So your schooling, I know we talked about it before, but that's for coaching people through what you've been through,
right?
Basically,
yeah,
right?
It's going to be life coaching and health coaching.
Okay.
So,
have you come up with a business name for it yet?
You know, really, no. Just, you know, right now I've really just been focusing on absorbing the information. You know, because, you know, baby steps and everything. Especially with schoolwork, because I'm not the best student. So I have to focus. And so I just, you know, probably when I get through with this section of work, I'm going to figure out what, you know, business name, you know, have an LLC, things like that. But yeah, just now, no actual name.
Is there a way for someone to overcome diabetes 1?
Type 1 is genetic. So okay. Once it's there, that's it. You know, you might as well sit in for the long haul because it's going nowhere.
Have you ever heard of anybody actually not having type 1 anymore?
Never. I mean, they do have stuff like islet cell transplants, and other things that are that have been successful, but it's got like a timeline to it, and every so often you have to go in for maintenance checks, um, and you have to take rejection meds in some form, so that way the islet cells that they put inside of you, your body doesn't attack it like a virus. But that,
You said islet. Is that kind of like blood plasma?
well, islet cells are what produce insulin.
Okay.
And I mean, granted, we have our pancreas, and the islet cells are what helps break down our food. That's the more appropriate way to say that. No, but the islet cells help produce insulin, break down our food, and regulate glucose. So, but from what I understand about the islet cell transplants, is that after a while, I think, I don't know if you have to re-up or what, but who knows? But yeah, the basic function of islet cells are just to help break down food.
I wonder. I'm sure this is totally radically different approach or topic because I don't know much about it. But if you remember Kobe Bryant, when he had torn a ligament or he tore several major injuries, but he kept playing throughout the whole season.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of the season, he went ahead and did the surgery. What they found out was he was doing this thing called plasma or platelet-rich therapy.
Yeah.
Where they infuse some kind of blood that's rich in, I forget, I'm butchering it, but basically you're infusing blood that's high and high concentrated in certain things that your body needs to repair.
Right.
So I wonder if they have something like that for people that have diabetes, type 2 or type 1,
Yeah, it'd be interesting if they did. I mean, I know other countries in Europe have been experimenting in finding cures, things that, potentially work. But here, the, FDA won't approve that stuff. Just because
of course,
testing stuff. But there's probably something out there. We just don't know about it yet.
Yeah. So how much longer till you graduate?
August 30th.
Okay. We may be in Atlanta around that time. My wife graduates in July. I think July.
Nice. What is she graduating in?
Business management, but she's already she's gonna go for her master's, so that'll be another year. But she'll go ahead and get her bachelor's in July. So if we're out in, yeah, and we're old, bro. Can you imagine that? What a cool thing to do in a different chapter of your life, bro.
Oh yeah, 50. Because what, you're not quite 50 yet.
Not yet. You're 50. I'm 48-ish.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be 49 this year, so we're pretty close.
Yeah, you know what? There's something to be said for being old.
Hey, I this one guy on social media was saying, "Oh man, I feel like I'm middle aged," and so I asked him, "How old are you?" He goes, "I'm in my 30s." I said, "Dude, what? No, what the heck, dude? I'm in my 40s, and I think to me, and now that you and I are older and we're making better choices nutrition wise, I feel like this may be middle age for me.
Yeah,
I plan on living to be at least 75 to 80, maybe even higher.
Mm-hmm.
So." I don't know about you guys, but if you're saying you're middle aged in 30s, you better fix something.
Oh, if anybody says they're middle aged at 30, I want to punch them. I just want to punch them. Because I'll promise you this, I'm going to live so daggum long. I put my kids through diapers. They will put me through diapers.
Well, I used to say that, Brian. My wife is like, don't say that. So I'm like, okay, I won't say it anymore. But it's a good way to motivate our kids, right? But here's the thing. I don't know what South Carolina is, but Hawaii has the highest life expectancy of all the states in the U.S. And I think it's at 80 or 81 years old. So that's the average age of someone in Hawaii when they die. Yeah, it's pretty high. It's pretty high up there. So
yeah, well, in the land of deep fried, I think our life expectancy is 55. Um,
Hey, is there still the clock drive-in? Are they still in business?
Absolutely, man.
What? Oh man,
They're like McDonald's, man. They will never go out.
are they still owned by the same people?
Probably not.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, clocks. Oh, man, what I wouldn't give to just be able to go and order a chili cheeseburger right now.
Well, I remember I would always get the fries and whatever I could afford, right? And I still remember the nostalgia of it all. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, it's talking about nostalgia, and I'm going to bring up something. This is kind of funny because I know I brought it up to you before. And I don't remember if you said you remembered this or not. But do you remember when you and I went to the beach and we went to McDonald's and you pretended to be another nationality and this was your first time at McDonald's?
I remember. Yeah, I remember those moments. Yeah. Hey, let's finish telling the story.
Okay.
Aloha family, want to announce our new merch is up. If you go to therealgilo.com, click on merchandise, it'll take you to our storefront. A very special limited run of our Vision t-shirts are up. Very special colors from Holy Land Light Olive, Sweet Banana Cream, Pure White, Sahara Desert Cream, and our final color of this offering is Sweet Baby Blue. Go to therealgilo.com, click on merchandise, check out what we have. We also have pickleball paddles in multiple colors. We have stickers. Also, our N Hakora branding, we have that as well. Beanies, coffee mugs, all of those things are in our storefront. Be sure to go to therealgilo.com, click on merchandise. And once again, family, thank you so much for your support. As we say in Hawaii, mahalo nui loa. Feels so much better. Oh my gosh.
Agreed.
So I haven't drank Coke, I think in a year. And by the way, my wife is watching us on YouTube on we're on a big TV. I just saw it just now.
It's like we're famous or something for a minute.
Yeah, something to that effect. We'll talk about dreams and goals in a second. And we'll talk about that story. But I stopped drinking Coke, I think a year now.
Right.
And I feel so good. Like I drink these sparkling waters.
Yeah.
And I have a hard time drinking straight water unless it's really cold. But anyways, yeah, I drank 3 or 4 already. So I'm going to stop. But
man,
hey, tell everybody that story about Myrtle Beach. I think it's Myrtle Beach, right?
Yeah, it was Myrtle Beach. The basic idea, the way I remember it, we were standing outside hungry and just teenagers being stupid. And we decided to walk into McDonald's, and on the way in, you were like, hey, I'm going to act like I can't speak a word of English.
Yeah.
And we're going to go up there and we're just going to see what we can do. And I remember us getting up to the register and we bantered back and forth with the the girl taking our order.
Well, I think I told you beforehand what I was going to order.
Yeah.
Right. And then we just kind of played it out that way. I remember now. Yeah.
Exactly. And then somewhere along the lines, we left with, and what? I guess it was probably 2 or 3, 4 or 5 minutes. And this poor girl honestly believed you were from another country.
Yeah.
And that I was translating for you. And she gave us a considerable amount of food off of that menu.
It's sympathy fries. That's what it was. Sympathy.
I remember that. I told that to Steph a couple of days ago. And just woman laughed and shook her head.
You know what's crazy about that story is that they actually believe that this white dude could translate whatever funky language they were talking about. Yeah, that's the funny part of the story. It wasn't me. It's like, dude, this white dude actually could. Wow, he speaks multiple languages.
Right. I'm not just bilingual. I could be trilingual and quadlingual, and if there's such a thing as that. But yeah, that was great. I mean, that was probably one of the funnest memories. Aside from that, I think it was the same trip that we were on, and there was a line, and we actually contemplated having a diabetic seizure in order to get in front of the line.
That's right. Well, thank you for bringing up all those memories that are Now I know why I'm such a good parent, because we've done it all.
That's
Yeah.
the thing I love, man. Like, there's nothing that my kids can throw at me that I can't go, already done it. I own that.
I think this is the first time, if my wife is watching right now, I think this is the first time she may have heard that part about debating doing a seizure.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, it was great because I it had something to do with the whole diabetes thing, and then you were like, dude, we should totally just fake a seizure and just get to the front of the line. And I was just like, wow, what? Okay, that might work. But then we wind up in foreign language land.
Would have been jacked up if you had a real one, and I'm sitting there faking it, and I'm like, no, he's fine. Just get us some water, and you actually have one. That would have been really messed
You got
up.
a bag of Skittles?
Hey, so let's talk about your coaching. So when you graduate, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna have a place? You're gonna just do it? How are you gonna do your business, your coaching? What's your ideas?
Well, the active plan right now is to work virtual as much as possible.
Yeah.
Keep overhead low. That way, money. Although we do everything for money. Money's not God, but money pays the bills. But I want to do it virtually. If I need to see people in person, I absolutely will. But I want to specialize in diabetes coaching more than anything. Because that way, I don't know, man, I kind of feel like I can get back a little bit. But I don't know at this point if actually, if having a commercial building or small commercial spot, is necessary right now. But ultimately, I would love to be able to stay at home, stay in my office, and help people figure out diabetes, and especially when diabetes gets to your head and you're flustered and you just can't win. I want to be that voice that's like, no, we win, So that's my goal. I've had a lot of endocrinologists, and they taught me really well. And for me to want to go into life coaching and health coaching and to focus on diabetes, it seems just like the natural move overall.
Have you had any doctors that you had to drop because you felt maybe they weren't the best for you? You ever had any that you had to not get rid of, but change your doctors?
A couple of times.
Yeah.
I had one here in Anderson that would always send me to his dietitian and never to him. And having been a part of a practice to where my endocrinologist was so hands-on, seeing a nutritionist was not what I wanted. I wanted the big guy. And they would never let me see the endocrinologist. And so I finally just said, fine, then this is not the practice for me. And I've been without an endocrinologist now, I would guess 10, 15 years.
So what exactly does how do you say it? Endocrinologist? I can't even say it. Yeah, what is their actual expertise?
Oh my goodness. Well, I know diabetes is one of them, obviously. Right. But I'm not sure what else they do outside of diabetes. So to me, if you say an endocrinologist, that's diabetes doctor.
If you told me that on the street, I'd be like, what are you, like a skin specialist or something? I don't know, but
right.
I will say, like, even today, like, people don't know, even with my wife's health journey, our kids, like, there's a lot of people that don't know that you do not have to stick with the doctor that you have. You can always shop around or get a second opinion. And we learn a lot. Just even now that we have our own kids, our own family, and the ultimate question I have is about diabetes one. But when it came to like vaccinations and things for our kids, and for me, I remember, man, I used to go every whatever amount of time, and I'd be like, I hate. That's one of the reasons why I hate needles is because I had asthma as a kid, and I used to have to get shots every week or every other week, and I used to hate. It was traumatizing.
Right.
And now it's like when we have our kids, and it's like, wait, we had this one doctor, very disingenuous, not personal, almost like they didn't care. And then we're like, man, this is crazy. Like, why are we even here? And so we learned, oh yeah, you can always request, someone else. You don't have to. And I don't think a lot of people realize, because at the end of the day, like, your body, especially now at our age, we know, like, and if a doctor's not going to be in that place where at least spend the time with us, at least in a genuine way, then go find somebody else, like find another doctor.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. That's one thing I've been grateful for. My primary care physician, from day one, I told her, I said, listen, I work out, I eat right, glucose, body, all in all, is in good shape. I know what I need. I know what I don't need. And we will discuss what you think I need. And I haven't changed doctors in a very long time, but she will listen. And there was one time she had even asked me, she was like, well, I think I want to put you on a cholesterol med. And I said, nope. I said, give me however many months it was between visits. I said, I'll come back and I'll be fine. I came back and I was fine. So,
well, cholesterol is, what is that? Like a statin? Is it statin medic? What do you use for cholesterol?
Blood pressure meds
blood pressure
have statins in them, and statins are good for diabetics in a sense because they help protect your bodily organs. Is it necessary? No. Is it helpful? Yeah. But I mean, even I don't subscribe to that 110%.
Mm-hmm. How do you? We're talking about type 1 being genetic. Here's a question: how did it become genetic? At what point did it, like? There has to be a starting point, right?
Right. That's controversial a little bit.
How so?
Well, certain thoughts will say that your body responds to trauma.
Okay.
In certain ways, and and then and that could be a potential idea to run with. My doctor, because I had no history of diabetes, told me that because I had chickenpox twice, that my body treats the islet cells as viruses. And so my body attacks what my pancreas naturally tries to produce. So, I mean, it could be genetic. Genetic meaning what? Who knows? I mean, trauma's genetic, I guess, in a sense, because
Yeah.
you sort of carry that from one generation to the next. But when it comes to the diabetes, type 2's easy. That's the chosen. Oh, I'm not gonna say that. That's mean. But type 1 definitely has something to it that leans more to genetics, or just being predisposed.
So if there's a starting point, that's where I asked in the beginning, right? Is there a possibility of there being an ending point to type 1 diabetes? And if so, what kind of research would prove or support that?
Man.
That thought process?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if there was ever an end to diabetes, which there never will be, because Big Pharma makes billions on diabetes. So cure me or cure any other type 1 diabetic, then stock prices drop. Corporations start to close their warehouses, their manufacturing facilities. They won't ever let a cure for diabetes or cancer or anything like that out, because profit margins go to zero. So there could be something out there, but it's about sickness for profit.
Well, we talk about big pharma, but I think the connect the dots to me also is the FDA, right? The Food and Drug Administration. Administration. So I talked about this on my last podcast with my guest. Was nobody questions, the fact that there are 2 government agencies bundled as one.
Right.
One manages our food, and one manages our drugs. I don't think it's a mistake that nobody questions it. But if they were, what if you got pulled over next week and the cop is, hey, I'll be right back. He puts on his judge robe.
Yeah.
And then he sentences you, and then he's like, I'll be right back. Then he puts on his prison guard uniform, and he's like, okay, let's go. I'm like, wait, what just happened?
Right, exactly. Yeah, and that's the way food is now. Think about how much stuff is processed and has preservatives all through it. Stuff we were never meant to eat. And if you have food suppliers working alongside big pharma and other, medical supply companies, of course everybody is going to give us something to make us sick, so big pharma and investors can make a ton of money off of us, off of ignorance, because we don't do our homework. And when it comes to nutrition, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, occasionally I'll have a McDonald's cheeseburger because they're holy and ordained by God Almighty.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but you don't. I have to choose to be wise. Like I said before with the diabetes, I have to choose to eat healthy, and I have to choose to be there and be aware of it all the time. And if everybody operated like that, then some of these food companies that put all these preservatives and different additives into their product that makes us sick, then we'd put a dent in big pharma naturally. But it's about being aware, and nobody likes to be aware. Being aware takes up too much energy.
It's too hard. And somebody had mentioned, I forget who it was. I remember. I won't say it because, I'll just say, Candace Owens. She was a guest somewhere, and they had asked her a question about how's your family life, how's your home life, and she said, "Oh, it's great. We just started. We started farming. We started planting vegetables and fruits, and she made a comment that why aren't more Americans doing this, even if it's just a little planter box. Like, we just started gardening. My she's great.
Yeah.
She's really good. And she said it's not that hard to get a bunch of seeds and just throw them in dirt, put water in it.
Yeah.
And it's not so much that we're going to be a bunch of farmers. It's just that it's, for us, number one, it's good stewardship. The second thing is our kids are learning how to grow and cultivate things. And the third one is maybe a little bit more far-fetched, but it's always a possibility, is that if something happens, at least you know how to raise and grow your own food.
Exactly.
And it's good, it's healthy, it's, whatever, non-GMO, whatever,
right.
Non-GMO, organic, but the point is it's good because we know how. And I think there's a lot of people that don't know how by choice. They like having everything brought to them in a grocery store.
Right. And I mean, and that's, I love growing a garden. That's that's one thing that I've missed the last couple of years is being able to grow a garden. Um, but this upcoming, not this summer, obviously, but next summer, I'm putting a garden in my backyard. I'm gonna grow the hottest peppers I can find, and I'm gonna grow vegetables, all kinds of great stuff, man. I miss that eating fresh.
You know who's selling Carolina Reapers right now? Is Home Depot.
No.
They have a whole shipment, and it's all pre-packaged, and the plant is it's ready to pop. So anybody wants to buy Carolina Reapers, Home Depot has them, and it says Father's Day presents on it. It's so fun. I'm like, I want to buy one, but I'm like, I can't eat them. Like, I would have to make it into a sauce, and even then, it's hot. Man, those peppers are hot.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I love it. There was a time. It's been a while ago, but we were growing ghost peppers, and I had no clue the power of ghost peppers. I was just trying everything in my power to keep deer and rodents out of my garden because my garden was humongous. And so one year, just for giggles, I planted ghost peppers all around the perimeter of my garden. And I walked out one day and the bush, the plants had already bushed and they looked like small little Christmas tree bushes. Absolutely fantastic. But this, I guess it was a deer, rabbits, possums, whatever. We sort of had a menagerie of rodents floating around the garden. And I saw a ghost pepper a little bit higher up on the bush with a bite out of it. And then there was one really low that had a bite taken out of it. And that season, I didn't have one rodent, one deer, nothing come into my garden. And I had the best squash, the best zucchini, all that kind of stuff. Okra, potatoes, whatever. It was just, it's so fantastic.
So I'm glad it worked because we had some chili peppers, not anything as hot as, I think the hottest one we had is like 100,000, Scoville units.
Yeah.
But the birds love those. They'll eat them up. Like if you don't pick the fruit right away, they'll start eating them. It's crazy. Yeah.
No, I heck with anything that's going to get a hold of my garden. Not a fan.
So you have so here we have they call them the mule deer.
Yeah.
They look like donkeys. I don't know I don't know, but they all look like, I feel bad for it, but they look like a bunch of homeless donkeys. Like they're missing hair, and it's I feel bad, and they're limping, and so and you can't shoot them because they have a law. So you'd have to be outside of the in the, what do they call that, public lands? They call it BLM, Bureau of Land Management. So, and there's a lot of deer here, so, but hey, so. I want to go. I know we went backwards, but with your life coach, here's what I'll say. With your coaching, health coaching, and all that, I have. It's called Thinkific, and you ever heard of them?
No.
So it's like I pay $100 a month, and I have access to creating courses. So I have what you would call digital products, right? So if I was to do life coaching, for example, and have a course, that's where I would upload my videos. I have PDF files. You can upload everything on there, and people can pay you a one-time fee. So I'm actually finishing my daughter's course. My daughter has a cooking course, and so I have all the videos. I just gotta finish it and upload it, and we'll charge people like, I don't know, $10.
Right.
We haven't finalized a price, but either $10 or maybe $10 a month. And every month they get a new class, a new course. I don't know yet. But I have one for live streaming, which I charge like $500, and people pay and they take this course.
Nice.
And so that would be a good avenue for you do a job one time, they take the course, and if they need extra like hold your hand kind of a deal where you walk them through. You can do that too. I think that's a great. I think that's a great resource, right? Rather than getting a building, because I think having square footage to have an office space, it's kind of, I want to say, overrated or even not necessary in some cases.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
but Thinkific, yeah, Thinkific is a great resource.
yeah, send me a link to that because I'd love to check that out. But yeah, and two, man, these days, who wants to get out? I hate to say it, but when I'm home, I'm home. Like, give me access to anything online that I can do and not have to leave my house. So I mean, setting up courses and things like that, that's great. And would definitely be good for me because I've had some friends tell me, start a TikTok, start doing shorts on TikTok or this or that or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but knowing me, I would just give up all of my secrets in the first 4 TikToks and then I'd be done.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, while you were talking, I went through our comments on YouTube. I'll pop up on screen. So there's a guy on YouTube, Wesley, says, hi. And then he goes, atheism is the worship of Satan. And I don't understand this one, but he says, the worship of Satan is the act of seeing Jesus 7 times, hearing Jesus tell you. I don't understand that. He could be in a different language. And he says,
goodbye. Wow. Dude, that's the funny thing, man. I love the stigma that comes with people growing just spiritually. Man, saying that you went through an atheist phase in life. I mean, atheism truly is believing in nothing. How do I worship Satan if I don't believe in him?
Do you, okay, let's go there. So do you define atheism as believing in nothing at all, or is there more to it?
For me personally, this is just me. For the 10 years that I was just a staunch atheist, I really didn't care to believe in anything. Going from Christian rock bands to being a worship leader at a megachurch and just being burnt out. Call it atheism, call it what did Lecrae call it? Deconstruction. No matter how you look at it, I don't know, man. Atheism is really not, for a season, it's not a bad thing. You grow, you learn, you become a better person. But it's not, this I'm going out in a black-haired wig in goth makeup and worshiping Satan. It's just, I'm just choosing to live my life at peace with everybody, and if people can't deal with me, then fine. So, to me, atheism is just, I don't know, man. Like, atheism for me was my time to get along with me and to shut God out, shut everybody out, and figure yourself out. That's what 10 years for me of believing in nothing did. It helped me figure myself out. So, my view of atheism is a little skewed.
So what burned you out when you said burned out? What was it that actually led to the burning out? Or
probably being a worship leader. Getting into the megachurch arena and just being in the megachurch arena really just fried my brain, fried my faith. And it was the business of the church
Mm-hmm.
and the neglect of the people that needed something. And they were trying to get it by going to church and worshiping God, but the people leading were more interested in performance and timing and money and this, that, the other. And it took the purity of what you were doing out. That's what fried my brain. Because at heart, I'm always just like, I'm a big old teddy bear, and I love everybody. I just can't let everybody know I love everybody. Um, but when I saw the lack of compassion and the lack of a genuine heart for what you are actually doing, I just walked away. I said that was enough. Like if that's the best, and this is probably one of the things that it just jumped into my brain again. But I told myself, I said, if that's the best God has got, I can do better. So, that's when I left, and I was like, you know what? God, your people suck.
You know what's funny is, so in 2019, we were blessed to, so we were part of a church split.
Yeah.
And so my wife and I were like, I grew up in the church for the most part. I understood the business side of it, the back end of it.
Uh-huh.
The church split that we were a part of was not my family. However, because my dad they kind of retired out of that.
Right.
But so I was a worship leader, or one of the worship leaders at this church. And I always said, God, I am never going to be a pastor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to babysit people. I'm not going to, and so that's probably the last thing you want to say to God is like, I don't want to be no, actually the worst thing you can say to God is I would never.
Yeah.
I would never encourage anybody to say to God, I would never do this. And so anyways, the church split. And so my wife and I, we're not leaving. People still we're still going to meet with people, and we'll do Bible studies. We'll grab a guitar and do some worship, and we never stopped, right? And so through that, we were asked to take over the church. So but it was more like a new church plant because the majority of the people left. So, and then that same year, we were asked to help open up a drug and alcohol rehab in the same place. So one of the things that one of the leaders, because we had, so the drug and alcohol rehab, it was started in Tennessee. So they have, I think, 40 centers worldwide. But out of that ministry, the drug and alcohol rehab, it actually started from a church called Cashion Church, which was founded in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, that's some of my good friends that they're pastors of that church. And that church averages about 4,000 a Sunday. Here's the funny thing, though. That town, I think the town is only like 2,500 people.
Mm-hmm.
So for them to get a church grow from like 50 people a Sunday to 4,000, and the town's not even that big, right? So that's the backstory to that. So when they came to Hawaii, and we basically worked together, and I worked for the Hope Center Ministries. One of the guys who was our regional leader, he said, I need you to tell me when your Sabbath is going to be. When is it going to be your Sabbath? When is your day of rest? When are you going to take that day? Because we need to know so we don't ask you to do anything. And he says it can't be Sunday because that's when you're working, right? So I can't just take a Sabbath when I'm supposed to be preaching. And I thought that was very interesting that, and he said it's very important that you line that out for yourself, because if you don't, you're going to run yourself to death.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're gonna work yourself to death. And so I always took that with me. I'm like, and how many people in the church that are in the ministry, worship leader, whatever, or any position, I don't think we're feeding them or equipping them properly, number one. Number two, And you probably can see this too. If you go to a church, for example, and you see that, let's say the worship leader is on stage weeping and crying and he's on his knees, that's fine. But if they're doing it every Sunday,
Yeah.
I think maybe Brother Man should probably have that time on a private level, because when you're leading the congregation, you're leading the congregation. If you're having your personal Jesus time and you're constantly repenting on stage, it might be a good indicator that maybe you should be doing that. And I see that a lot in church where our leaders they're not getting in the Word, right? They're not spending real authentic time with God in the private time.
Right.
And so I'm kind of glad you went through that, not in a weird way, but a lot of people don't get that luxury of experiencing what you have, right, on the front end and the back end of things on ministry.
Well, and the good thing of it is I don't get asked a lot because I don't really share my experience with a lot of people. But when it comes down to being in the church, most of your leaders are broken. They're worn out, beat up. And I hate to say it. I mean, I'm making this as a blanket statement, but most of them are just broken and beat up. They're worn out. And their congregations do not give them time to self-care. And self-care. Ooh, that's another bad word for preachers.
Yeah.
But if you can't self-care, you sure as heck can't care for anybody else. And I think that's probably the biggest, because I really don't think it has any, and not trying to be contentious, but I don't think it has anything to do with being in the Word or being whatever. I think that the church exhausts their leaders.
And I think the model is broken too. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Because, and we're not going to be doing theology today, but if you look in the Bible, if you actually look in the Bible, what a church actually started as in the book of Acts chapter 2,
mm-hmm.
There's a very clear part of the scripture where it says that they brought everything to the apostles' feet, whatever interpretation, and the apostles distributed as they saw fit, as where the needs were in the church. And if someone needed to pay a mortgage, for example,
mm-hmm.
this guy over here would sell his land and help him pay for his. And now that was a church back then.
Mm-hmm.
Something happened from Acts chapter 2 into the modern church today. I had a good friend, they did a whatever it was, a prayer meeting, and somebody came up and said, "Oh, I need help with this, and this." And you know what happened, Chris? They're like, "All right, we're just gonna pray for the almighty movement of God to happen, and we're gonna pray for a breakthrough in your home financially." And I'm thinking, well, I've got $20.
Right.
Maybe they've got 100. Let's just put it all together. And now there is a church that I saw where they did that. It was I think it's Bethel Church, where the guy came up and started weeping, whatever. All of a sudden, people started walking up, just dropping cash right next to the guy,
wow,
blessing him. That's the church that I know of, what I read about, right? And not this this model. And the funny thing is, we put all of the weight of what a church should look like on a Sunday.
Right. We
expect Pastor Chris to take us to the throne room of heaven, and if he can't do it, I'm leaving because I got a game at 1:00.
Right.
So that part I agree is broken. We should be doing it Monday through Saturday, and Sunday we should all be celebrating how good God bless us from Monday through Saturday.
Right. Well, the problem with the church today, and this again, I'm just speaking my mind, speaking my heart. But today, I think the church wallet and the people's wallet in the church hurts more than their heart does. That's why you hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, I'll pray, but I'm not doing anything because my wallet's going to hurt just a tad if I help you." So people's wallets hurt more than their hearts hurt.
You know what's funny about what you said? So when my mom was sick, there was these two key people in our life that they blessed my family financially.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't ask them, hey, I know you've got a lot of money, would you be willing to? And I'll drop their names publicly because we had a GoFundMe page that was set up, and they blessed, and one of them was my former employer, Angus Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
And then another was the Katz family. And I know that they did it out of their heart, because when you look at the receipts, it wasn't a business card, it was their personal finances.
Right.
And it's funny how people that are in that realm, the wealthy, they understand the principles of giving.
Mm-hmm.
And they understand that. I'm not saying the church doesn't, because it depends on where you're at too. Because I will say, growing up in the South those years, there's a church in every corner.
Yeah,
that's the culture of the South, right? Like, you probably had 5 different Bibles in 5 different versions. I had a Sunday suit with my Sunday shoes. Now in Hawaii is a little bit different culture-wise. It's definitely a lot more relational. It's not so much of a religious thing.
right.
Very good example is if I get a text today, for example, hey, our friends need food. I'm not even kidding, Chris. By the end of the day, that entire family, like the entire house, will be flooded with groceries. People are going to be paying their cell phone bills, those kind of things.
Yeah.
Right. So that's probably more of a cultural thing, church thing too. I'll put that in there.
Yeah.
So, from your journey, from your atheist chapter, what made you decide, hey, I think it's time for another chapter to be written? What was that for you?
Oh, wow. Well, I had some major life disruptance, in the last 2 years. And, really, to say, to be cliche and say it brought it to my knees is probably an understatement. But, I went through some really rough times, came out of it, and, you just had to go do some soul searching a little bit. And the path from atheism, still, I don't know if I don't know. I don't know if I feel like I really don't even know if atheism is a proper term. Because I was still searching. I just didn't know what I was searching for. But through the course of it all, I came out on the backside of a lot of negative things. And you could just feel something bigger than you there. And and I would always be like, all right, God, all right, universe, whoever you want to be called, however you want to be addressed, I'm here. Let's go. Let's have a Donnybrook right now. Let's just go for it. And compassionately and lovingly, I just, God met me where I was. And I don't know, it was really cool, but it wasn't the God that the church teaches. Or, the God with the open pocketbook that almost resembles Santa Claus. God met me on my road. And we had long walks and long discussions. And in the end, it was just, all right, it's going to be us. And I'm not engaging anybody else. I'm not engaging a church. I'm not engaging even my closest friends. in deep conversations about religion, because they will never see it the way I see it. They won't experience it the way I experienced what I have, because that was a plan in place way before I was even born. I had to grow from it. I had to learn. And as much as things took me away, that route away brought me all the way back, but brought me back smarter. No. When kind of like Lecrae's book, I Am Restored. When I went through my we'll call it my deconstruction, not the atheist phase. But it was sort of atheistic. But the deconstruction and the rebuild, after reading that book and understanding the process that I went through, I don't want to say I'm not a Christian, but I'm not a Christian. I worship the same God and the same heart and love, but I just don't identify myself with a church or an ideology that a building and a pastor and the worship band would subscribe to. I'm not trying to make up my rules, but I just had to let go. I had to let go of all of that and embrace a little bit more Eastern Orthodoxy in my relationship, so I can get a little bit deeper without being religious. And that's the last thing I am these days, is religious.
I think a lot of people are, and when we talk about the word religion, it's literally still searching.
Yeah.
Right. So I always tell people, and I rarely use the word, actually, I don't even use the word Christian. It's not that, it has nothing to do with if I agree or disagree. It's just, if popular culture views Christianity in this fashion,
Mm-hmm.
that's not how I am going to be identified. That's the first
Right.
thing. That doesn't mean I agree or disagree with them. I just don't want to be identified in that light.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that a lot of people use the word I'm a Christian, but when you look at the core beliefs, it's not Protestant, it's not whatever, use your denomination. It's just a term. And as a matter of fact, there's an alarming amount of people right now, even on social media, just in general, where they talk about God, right? Like, oh, I thank God for this, I thank God for that. And this is more of a personal thing for me, and then like not even like a minute later, they're like dropping F-bomb combos like they're playing Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. You know what I mean? Like they got to use F this, F that with a MF combo, and then like 5 minutes later, oh, praise God, hallelujah. I'm like, wait, what?
It's like, wow.
What? So I see that where there's a lot of, and then a lot of people are not acknowledging. So if I say I believe in God, I always ask people, well, what does your God look like? Is he a reverend God, or is he someone that I use? And I saw this as a kid in South Carolina, where bands will say, oh, we're a Christian band, right? So they'll put God up on this big sign before they go live. They'll do their set, but while they're doing a set, where's God? God's somewhere in the backstage. He's in a green room somewhere.
Right.
While they do their show. And then when it's time to end the show, oh, we'll do a quick altar call and we'll throw out Bibles, or we'll give you a prayer table.
Right.
But for the previous 2 hours, I don't know if God was actually even in that concert and I think a lot of people in our culture today are like that. Right? To put God out there, oh, hey, I just want to say I love God and thank God, and then for the next 2 hours they're dropping F-bomb combos, and it's like, wait, what kind of God is this? Like, I don't know if I want to be associated with that. So that's why I rarely use that term Christian. I always tell people, hey man, I love the Lord. I have a relationship with Jesus, and I'm like, at the end of the day, it's about my relationship, not the church building. Although I am a firm, and not giving you pushback, but I am a firm believer in a fellowship of believers. That's important. You ever heard of Francis Chan, the Chinese dude?
Yeah.
I saw him in person, bro. He made me and my wife cry. Like, we were in LA, we were at a conference, and he was preaching at a business conference, which it wasn't even anything related to the business conference, but we went to a breakfast that he was speaking at in the morning before the business conference started.
Mm-hmm.
And this business conference had nothing to do with him in the sense of the Christian religious perspective. He just happened to be there.
Right.
And so our friend who was heading this particular event, he got Francis Chan to speak. And we were in a room of like maybe 2,000 people. He just spoke and just brought forth the word. Right? He preached, right? And it was a pretty good word. But what got me at the end was, and we've heard the message of Jesus on the cross many times, right? We've heard it so many times. And I could probably sit through thousands more, but the one I cannot sit through is the way he delivered his. And he said that, I want you to close your eyes and I want you to take your child and you put your child on this cross. And basically it's like, how would that make you feel?
Mm-hmm.
Bro, I cried. I couldn't stop crying. I'm like, what the heck? Because it was real. That imagery, the relating to that was real. And that's what Francis Chan, and of course I later found out Francis Chan was, he's very revolutionary. He talked about, like, why are we spending $12 million on a building? Let's build a $1 million facility, and the other 11 million, let's go and do missions. Let's go feed people. Let's, take care of people.
Exactly.
I don't know the whole story, but long story short, he's not with that church anymore. So,
yeah.
And that church had a lot of money.
That wallet hurt worse than their heart hurt.
Yeah. And just to be clear, family, for those that are sensitive about church stuff, I'm not by any means promoting negativity towards any church. And that's just where people are at. I'm a firm believer that our church is well beyond the four walls, right? But I do believe in having walls too. But I will say, Chris, I appreciate you being very transparent about. I know there's a lot more to tank because,
bro, we get
hours. So for those of you that don't know, bro, Chris was on this road. That if you were a diehard church goer Christian person, to stay out of his way, because there were some things he posted was just wild. It would hurt your feelings. Even if you had thick skin, it would hurt your feelings. But you know what you did, Chris, that meant a lot, is that you reached out to me. You remember that message on Facebook?
Yeah, you were, I do remember that, but you were always that guy. You were always that brother that I knew I could reach out to.
It meant a lot. I'll tell you this much. It meant a lot for you to reach out to me, and you didn't have to say nothing, but the fact that you did, it meant a lot. It meant a lot, because I actually had people that followed me. A couple of them had asked me about you, and I just was like, that's just where he's at right now, and no matter what, still love him, still pray for him like I would pray for any other person. Mm-hmm. He might be special needs, but hey, I still love him. He might be a doofus. But
there we go, man. Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's life. We grow and we learn and we go through light times and we go through dark times. And if you don't embrace them and then find your people to embrace those times with, no matter where you're at, if you don't find those people, you're lost. You've always been one of my people. No matter what, whether we talk once a week or once a year, you always have been one of my people. You and that weirdo Jay Maccabee.
Yeah, let's talk about him. We're gonna put him. So, family, I don't know if I've ever shared stories about this Jay Maccabee. I'm gonna clip this, by the way. I'm gonna put it on social media. I want to tag him, but yes. Jay Maccabee. My memory of him when I was in high school, he was this muscular guy. Kind of find out now, it's a lot different. He's actually a short dude too, right? He's not tall.
In
Like,
high school, he had that whole no neck John Cena thing going.
yeah. He's like, oh, I'm big, like, yeah. But that's my memory of this Jay Maccabee, and he was in today's standards, he was a bully.
Yeah.
But back then, he wasn't a bully to me. He just was somebody that maybe a mild bully, but not really, because I figured out a way to overcome that. But yeah,
dude, he was such a turd.
Yeah.
I never really took him seriously, but we had a few instances that I will not dive into.
Yeah, we talked about that already, so probably not this one.
Not time around. But yeah, there were some situations that I was in with Jay Maccabee at Washington Avenue that I was just like, dear Lord, why do you hate me today?
What did he have? He had either a Buick Regal. I forgot what he drove, but it was a rear-wheel drive car.
Yeah.
I want to say a Buick or a Grand National. I don't think it was a Grand National.
I don't know. I just had a Trans Am.
I think he had a Cutlass. I think that's what he had. So, anybody in the 80s, in the 90s, like, when you drove to school, you had to have like a hot rod kind of a car. And you had a Trans Am. Let me ask you, how did you get the Trans Am? I'm just curious.
I was an only child. So, I was spoiled rotten. So, mom and dad, I wanted it, I got it. It was nice.
And that was a 5.7, correct?
I believe.
Or was
yeah. Yeah, it's like a, golly, wow. 350 something. Yeah, whatever it was. It was fast. My current car is a lot faster. But
you have, what do you have, the A7?
I have a supercharged A7 with aftermarket cold air intake and exhaust and a stage 2 tune on it.
So we're talking like 600 at the crank?
Yeah, somewhere between like 540 to 600.
At the crank,
yeah.
Right? Because at the wheels, it'd be hard. Yours is Quattro,
yeah,
right?
Mine's a Quattro.
So it'd be hard to figure out at the wheels unless you chain it up. You'd have to chain that up.
I do have a button that I can push, and it'll disengage the Quattro.
Okay.
But I leave the Quattro on because I just love sitting. And this is ego. This is absolute 50-year-old ego. But, you know, some of these younger kids, they'll pull up beside me with their Mustangs or their Camaros or whatever, Dodge Rams. And they'll want to, you know, go light to light. And I just pounce it. And the car responds. Oh, there's never any wheel spin. It's grip, go. And by the time we hit the next red light, I just love looking over and going, oh, I won. The old man won. So it's nothing but an ego trip. I mean, really, I love that car. That car is so great, but it's just a horsepower ego trip.
One of my cars, I used to have a STI. I'm not sure if you know what the STIs are. It's the Subaru WRX STIs.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I had the first one that came to the U.S. So for many years in Japan, they had these 300 horsepower little rockets that would never make it to the U.S. because of whatever emissions and safety. Because in Japan, they don't care about safety bumpers and all that stuff. So when they finally released it to the United States, I got my hands on one. And so those are all-wheel drive. 300, at the time, that model was 300. So 300 horsepower, 300 pound-feet of torque. I had a limited slip diff control where I could control the power front to rear.
Yeah.
And I would slide it back and forth. And so I could do 35, 65. So 35 front, 65 in the rear. And man, I used to race that thing. I used to do crazy, like illegal street racing, but it wasn't on like streets in the city. It was like on these mountain roads.
Right.
So once I met these guys from Japan. They taught me how to drive, and they taught me, so the heel toe, I'm not sure if you're familiar with heel toe. It's a way to downshift without losing power, but without the lurch. So if you don't rev match properly, what's going to happen is the car is going to like, right? So they taught me how to do all that and downshift and then brake at the same time. And so I was learning how to drive, and my ego was getting bigger, and it's fun. It's like riding a roller coaster. You don't have to like pay for admission.
Yeah.
But I paid for it because one time I was racing this one guy who was a friend. And so we would do what we call toge.
Yeah.
So if you ever watch, toge is fun because it's not about beating the guy. Well, if you pass him, but basically it's like, how can you like stay up and up, right? And you're going on all these mountain roads. So my friend was behind me, and I'm like, I'm not going to lose to this guy. So every turn I'm overpowering, and I would have to like downshift, but I still am coming in too hot. So what I would do is I would push in the clutch, e-brake, and the e-brake would tie up the back to where you get a little bit more control. I did that for like, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes. And then on the way home, all I heard was clunking, clunk, 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 clunk. I'm like, what in the world? And I couldn't, it kept jarring back and forth. What had happened was when you pull up the e-brake on an all-wheel drive car, four-wheel drive, whatever, there's a magnet that would release the clutch.
Right.
So the drive shaft is spinning, right? Even though you released by the e-brake, the drive shaft was still spinning. So even though I technically released the drive shaft was still spinning at whatever speed I was going. And that little gear that is still connected to the drive shaft is still spinning on the rear diff. So that was, I think, a $4,000 mistake. When we opened up the diff, everything was all, so oil is supposed to be clear, right? Theoretically.
Right.
Either clear or black. Black meaning it's burnt.
Right.
My diff oil, it wasn't clear and it wasn't black. It was silvery and it was shining, like a unicorn that had diarrhea and just like totally. So it was thick. I was like, the gears are grinded. So that was
that's why
very expensive.
Paddle shifters. My A7 has paddles, and oh man, I love that.
Well, you pay for that, right? Because the paddle shifters. The reason why your car is so expensive is because you got that technology where it releases everything. Yep. That's like F1 technology, basically.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you, man. Wow. Yeah. That's this.
Now, does your car rev match?
Do what?
When you downshift? Does your car rev match when you downshift?
No. I don't believe it does. I may be.
The next time you test it. Next time you get on a road and just like floor it and go to like fourth gear and then just downshift real quick. If it blips your throttle, I'm pretty sure it does. Your cars those cars are pretty advanced.
Yeah, and it probably does. I just, I think the fastest I've gotten that car is about 110, and
that's fast enough.
Well, and my boy, I was playing a bar gig one night, and I needed something. And so he ran back to the house, but he was gone for a minute. And he came back and he was like, "Holy cow, Dad, your car flies." I went, "What did you do?" He said, "I got it to 130. I went, "Oh God." I'm like, don't tell me that. I don't want to know. But so he got it to 130. I've had it to 110. And I mean, other than that, I really haven't messed playing with the paddles very much. I leave it in comfort mode because, well, I'm 50. And I like comfort.
How much is gas right now for you guys over there?
It's right around 310.
You know what's funny about that? So I drove from Oregon to Texas to Oklahoma last year. The farther I go east, the cheaper the gas is.
Absolutely, yeah. See, I have
And
premium.
yeah,
I have to use the top of the line stuff for the Audi, so that's why I'm saying 310, about average, I guess.
somebody said, "Oh, that's because Texas, the oil." Like, no, that's part of it, but we don't get a lot of our oil from Texas. A lot of it is political. It's political things or political climates, whatever.
Exactly. We'll steer clear of that conversation.
Yeah, but it's funny though because I was in Texas and gas was like two something. I'm like, wow, this is super cheap because we were paying, and I don't even look at gas prices here because I just fill up.
Yeah.
But I think it's like around $5, close to $5, something like. So, like, I don't look, I don't care because I'm gonna go to the same gas station every single time because I get points, so I could care less what it is. Now, if I see that it's $7, I'll be, wait a minute. Yeah.
No, most of the time, like I really enjoy these wholesale stores that have gas pumps.
I don't know what that is. You got to explain that. What the heck is that?
Well, like
Are we talking?
like Costco.
Oh, yeah.
And if they've got a gas pump there, bro, I'm totally stopping. I don't even care if I need gas. I'll top that joker off just to say I got $2.80 gas.
Is there still the motor mile in Greenville?
Yeah.
Did they still call it that? I'm just curious.
I don't know if they still call it the motor mile. I think all of the dealerships are still there. But I really don't drive the motor mile much. I still call it the motor mile. But yeah, Toyota, Lexus, all those guys, Audi, BMW, Volkswagen, everybody still over there.
That's where I saw my first Lamborghini. Yeah. The Lamborghini Countach.
Dude, one day
It was
I'll have one. No, better yet, one day I'll have an Audi R8.
dude, the price of your car, you can get your Lamborghini like Huracan.
Yeah.
What you pay for your car. I mean, I know the Huracan's it's not a V12, but it's the same engine as in the R8. So
yeah. I would love just to have an R8 just to say I had it.
those cars are beautiful. They're in person. They're like, wow, that's such a beautiful car. Yeah. It's kind of like what the TT should have looked like, the Audi TT.
That is like, that's a shrunk Volkswagen Bug is all that is. That car was hit.
I think the Audi TT is like a Volkswagen Beetle, like put on some makeup,
Fair.
because it's the same engine, I think, right? The 2-liter, or maybe not same engine, but
it's I don't know about the TT. I never found it attractive at all, and so I never wanted one. So like, man, I wish I knew the spec list on it. Know the spec list on my car, but the TT. I know a couple of guys that have a TT, and they still park beside me, and they're like, "God, your car's hot." I'm like, "I know, it's okay. Let it be."
No, yours is supercharged. You said,
Yeah.
Right? That's not common for Audis to be supercharged, is it? Usually it's turbo or twin turbo, right? Typically,
I think it's depends on the model that you get. Since having mine, I've actually seen a lot, or maybe it's just the fact that I own one that now every time I'm looking at an Audi, I'm looking for the Quattro emblem, and then I'm looking for the supercharged emblem. And not every Audi that I see, but a lot of them that I see, have that supercharged emblem sitting on the front quarter panel. So I don't know.
I never associate Audis without Quattro. To me, growing up, my perception, they were known for the Quattro in their races and their rallies.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I
The fact you,
they're
yeah,
just fantastic. I mean, I'll say this, and if my buddy ever hears this, my former roommate, diehard BMW driver, and from the day I bought my Audi, his girlfriend and I just give it to him for being a BMW driver, and we're always, nah, well, there's Premier German engineering, and then there's BMW, and so
yeah,
we just give each other grief.
yeah.
It's such a fun ribbing back and forth. So, it's just fun.
Well, here's a question. We're gonna shift gears real quick, and then we'll probably land the plane soon. But I wrote this down so I wouldn't forget. Advice for anybody that wants to play music. What would you say to them?
Advice
Before
one
you
who wants.
before you answer, I'll just throw this little nugget. Dave Grohl. I'll leave that in there. Dave Grohl, the drummer or Foo Fighters. Okay, go ahead. I'll come back to that.
Advice for anybody who wants to play music: don't. I mean, it's a lot of fun. Always, always have a fail safe. Have an exit plan. Because the money can be good, money can be awful. So if you're gonna play music, do it because you love it, not because you want to get rich.
What would you say is a good average for someone that does weekly gigs? Let's say you do 2 or 3 gigs a week. What would be a where you live? What would be an average?
Typically maybe 1 gig a weekend. Um,
Okay.
the band that I play with, they probably gig once a month, sometimes twice a month, depending if there's holidays built into the month. But yeah, twice a month, one time a month. That's fair. That's my speed.
I used to play twice a week at one point, and the gig economy in Honolulu it's obviously steady because of tourism,
Right.
but it's very competitive too. So one of my buddies, he actually plays bass for my brother's band now. We grew up together, and there was a time when he was I think they did 5 shows a week. Like, it's every day something new.
Wow.
And so that was his income. That was his full time.
Right.
Now the problem with that is that the guy that, and it's not a problem, but the guy that got them all those gigs, he had a big company. So he had all the big bands working for him, and he would just basically rotate bands at this particular restaurant or this bar. So every day there'll be a new band, and he was responsible for that. So at the time, my friend was making, I don't know, $3,500 a month playing music. It's something he loved to do.
Mhm.
But it got to the point where it was just the same thing every day or every other day.
Right.
So there was no spontaneity. There was no writing, right? They weren't writing anything new. It was just performing the same songs over and over. So,
Yeah. You see,
Yeah.
that's going back to the beginning of our conversation. Striper. It's probably the exact same idea.
What do you think of his their okay, I would say new material, but what do you think of their second or their last chapter of albums that they've had? Have you heard any of them?
Bits and pieces, and that's all I want to hear. They've still got it, but their time has come and gone. And I love all the guys in Striper. But other than reliving fantasies of now adults whose parents probably wouldn't let them go to concerts, they get to continue to live their fantasy. And these people that were restricted from going to the concerts get to live their fantasy. I mean, it's still a win, but I mean, you know, at some point you gotta hang it up.
I think they're getting pretty close because I think Michael Sweet turned 60 and then Oz Fox just had a brain surgery. But I hope they tour for a few more years so I can bring my kids. My kids love Striper. My youngest daughter, dude, I'll share a video. I'll share it with you. But she was playing this one song, one of the newer songs, and I was listening to it because I don't really know their new stuff, like at least the notes. And I know that the tunes, but she's playing this run on her guitar. She's got this electric, like a Fender, made in Mexico Fender, and she was just playing it. I was like, wow. I said, how do you? And she just smiled. She smiled real big. It's like, I just watched the video and I figured it out. But their new stuff is weird because it's heavier.
Yeah.
It's heavier and it's more. My daughter says it's more growly. He growls more. I said, yeah. Well, his voice, he lost some of the timbre, so he doesn't have that crispiness anymore, like how he used to.
Right.
But he can still. I will say, bro, when I seen him live, he still got the scream, and it's not technically a scream; it's a falsetto scream, I guess you could say. So that's smart of him to develop that, because that way he doesn't strain his voice, like.
Right. You know, man, just stick with the yellow and the black attack. Soldiers under command. To hell with the devil, in God we trust. And my favorite record of Stripe,
Against the
Law.
That was a good album, I will say. That was a great album.
They took so much heat for that record. But honestly, musicality, dude, that was one of the best records.
Now, the only thing I didn't like about that record was, and I guess that was the way some bands were headed, but one of the songs, it wasn't even Timothy Gaines, it was Anthony Jackson. Shining Star.
Yeah.
That was a different bass player.
Wow.
So when you hear it, you're like, oh yeah, that's not a Striper bass player, because it's not to take away from their skill set, but it's a different feel, it's a different vibe, right?
Yeah.
When you hear Shining Star, you know it's a black dude playing bass, basically. You know what I mean? Like you hear, oh, that's a black dude playing it.
Dude, you okay? You know what? I'll say this, and I'm going to leave it right where it sits. When you said it was a black dude playing bass, took me straight back to South Park when Cartman told Token to go to his basement and grab his bass, and Token kept going, but I don't have a bass. He goes, listen, you're black. You have a bass. Go get your bass. And go, I can't play the bass. He goes, yes, you can. And yeah, so that brought that memory back to me. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go to bed thinking about that.
You know what's funny? People don't even know, right? So for people that don't know, we're talking about Striper. There's a song called Shining Star, which is actually a Earth, Wind, and Fire cover.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy that played bass on his Striper album, his name is Anthony Jackson. If you don't know who he is, he's one of the judges on American Idol, or former judges. The big black dude with the glasses, that's Anthony Jackson. And I didn't even know that all those years that he was the guy.
Yeah.
I never knew what that guy did on American Idol. But going back to the music, and we'll land the plane soon. When we were talking about advice for people getting or playing music, actually, that wants to learn. Dave Grohl had a very popular quote. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of this quote, but it was in reference to these reality TV shows or the music competition shows.
Right.
And this quote was very, very harsh on those shows, because he said these TV shows are breaking the hearts of literally thousands, if not millions, of kids every year by shattering their dreams to play music.
Yep.
And he says, when I played, we just grabbed a bunch of amps or drums And we just rocked it out in our garage. And he said, and this is the funny part, he goes, and we sucked.
Right.
But we loved it.
Exactly. Absolutely. I mean, I love these shows, and I love watching them because they're entertaining. And Steph has really got me into The Voice right now. But yeah, the heart of sweating it out, going deaf in a garage, just to write one song every week or every 2 weeks. Man, that art is gone. It is so gone. Like, even Sims, man, I love what he does in music. But he doesn't even need people anymore. He does everything himself. And I'm just like, wow. It's a whole level of stuff that you miss. I love the computer stuff, but I wouldn't trade people, especially in a band environment, because that becomes your family for a long time.
There's something special about playing, or there's actually, let me rephrase that. There's something special about playing in a band and trying to figure out who's messing it up.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's something special about that. And who do they always blame? They always blame the drummer.
Absolutely.
Even if it's the wrong note, it's his fault because he's not playing in time.
Exactly. I couldn't tell you how many times we sat in our garage and, oh man, we would get our drummer so fired up. And we used to have this one song that was driven, like absolutely 99% drums, if there's such a thing. But it was a very tribal almost beat. So he had to hold it. I mean, the song was his. And there was one night he came in and, man, he was so flustered from the jump. And he couldn't get that one song down. And then finally, he just stood up, put his sticks down. He's like, I'm done. And we were like, his fault.
Yep.
It's great, man. I love that kind of stuff. Like, that was the fun, man.
Your parents gave you the freedom to rock out in your room, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Mine too. So my wife, to this day, my wife is like, because when we first met, I think I just had a drum set in my room. So she, to this day, she's like, I've never met somebody whose parents let him have a drum set in his room.
Mm.
And I would just rock out. I would rock out. Like, I would tell everybody, hey, I'm going to play for about an hour. And there's no sound padding. There's no sound dampening, nothing. I'm just rocking out. I have my headphones on. I'm just like, But even in the South, I had my PV, whatever it was, PV 50, whatever it was, and I had another amp on top. I tried to stack it. We didn't have a lot of money back then, but I figured I'm gonna make it look like a Mesa Boogie amp. Stack my amps, and I would actually patch. So I would distortion my little PV amp for my guitar, and I would run another cable to my bass amp, so I'd have the bottom end, and I would just rock out. And I sounded terrible, but my parents were okay with it, and so these kids today will never have that, right? I don't think,
dude, like right here, right beside me, like I still have amplifiers, but I run through a processor these days. I can play anything I want, and I have a master volume right here on this processor. It's easy peasy. Play what you want, however you want, get that great tone at a 32nd of the volume. Nobody's going to be deaf anymore.
there's no fun in that.
What? But yeah, no, just, dude, yeah, that whole era is just gone. I love it. I miss it. I wish I could go back and do it again, but do it right.
If we could go back and drop off some of the technology from today and still have that raw experience that we had, I think it Pretty epic.
Bro. And we'd be bajillionaires.
We would be bajillionaires. And I got a fun question for you at closing in regards to bajillionaire and guitar. So can we talk about Sims for a second, and we'll close it out?
Yeah, absolutely.
So for people that don't know, Sims, his son is he's a musical genius. I won't even just say guitar player, because I'm sure there's a lot more to him than that, but like his guitar skills are crazy, right?
Yep.
But how did you foster that in him? Did he just grab guitars one day when he was like 2 years old and say, I want to touch it? Or like how did that start?
Well, it's funny. I mean, I don't want to take all the credit, because a lot of that inside of him is just natural. There's no explaining how he took it to where he took it. But Sims was around about the time that I was a worship pastor or a worship leader at this mega church that I was at. And one Sunday, we had sort of snuck him in because it wasn't approved, because he wasn't 12 or 13 at the time. But so he wasn't allowed in the big service. So he came in, watched the worship service, and he was like, yeah, I want to do that. And then through the years, and a couple of other churches, community churches, all of them were relatively large churches, but he would always be there. Sometimes he would play worship with us, and back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And in and all of that, I think the bug bit him. And he was like, yeah, I want to do that, but I want to do it better than Dad did. So he did.
And that's how it should be, right? Our kids should be better than us.
Absolutely. And I mean, both of mine are 1,000 times better than I am, at everything. But Sims definitely took guitar to another level. So, but two, he was homeschooled his entire life.
Oh, he was?
Yeah. And by the time he was 15, he was teaching lessons online. And he might get a couple of hours sleep before he had to start school. But he would teach, nap, back and forth, back and forth. And then he moved to LA, and the rest is history.
I think he's going to be my next guest.
Dude,
I want to talk to him about that.
You should totally do that. That would be hilarious.
I'm sure we'll talk about guitars, but does he have his own line? I know he's got some obviously sponsorships, but does he have his own guitar line, or anybody trying to court him for that? Or
no, he still has a few endorsements, which we're still really proud of. But he was endorsed with instrumental pickups, Ibanez Guitars endorsed him for a couple of years. And then probably my absolute favorite endorser has been Swiss Picks.
I saw the pictures of.
And I'm going to tell you, I keep a couple stickers right here, but it's Sims.
Yeah.
Oh well, let's just look at it this way. That's his pick, and and the sticker says pink is the new orange. But Pete has been such a great dude all these years, and we get to talk on the phone occasionally. But just a fun guy, real personable guy, and I love him. But Swiss Picks, Ibanez instrumental pickups. I'm probably missing one, but those were his endorsers, and most of them were a lot of fun to deal with.
So for those that don't know, his son Sims and his daughter, who is an amazing singer, by the way, but his son just recently got a Grammy Award playing with. Yeah, that's huge. I mean, that's massive.
Yeah. 24 years old, first Grammy.
And you know what? I do believe the homeschool, because we homeschool our kids. We've been homeschooling them for 7 years now. So our oldest daughter just graduated college, and yeah, homeschool is where it's at.
Yeah. I mean,
and I feel
we enjoyed that. I mean, but I will admit that it's not easy.
Yeah. Well, you know why it's not easy is we were raised differently. We were raised that, hey, mom and dad got to go work. You go to school for 7 hours, and then after the 7 hours, you go do sports.
Yep.
Right, and then when you guys come home, then we'll do some chores. You will have dinner for about half an hour. You go play Nintendo, play Mike Tyson's Punch Out, and then you're in bed by 9 o'clock. Right. And it's like, when did I ever see my dad? It was like maybe half an hour a day.
Yeah, absolutely. And
we were
I don't think I ever saw. I mean, my dad worked a lot. He was a elementary school, middle school, high school teacher, depending on what year it was. And then he would go work at a steakhouse as a floor manager, just because he could. And I was just like, oh, and I mean, I got free food, so I'm not.
So can't complain about that.
Right. So yeah, but I mean, that was it, man. You wake up, go to school, parents work, you come home, you do your thing. So, but it was fun. I got in a lot of trouble that way.
My kids every day, this is just how we do it. And I never had it, so I figured we're gonna, actually my wife more than me, but I'm on board, and obviously we do it together. But we started doing just doing devotional time with them, about sometimes an hour, sometimes not so long, but every day we do it.
Yeah.
Because it's, for us, it's like, hey, these are our kids. We're gonna teach them. We're gonna raise them, and of course they do online curriculum. So there's no grade. I don't even know what grade level my kids are. I really don't care.
Yeah.
Because there's no ceiling. Like my youngest daughter, I think when she was 10, I talked about this before, when she was 10, she wrote her first program. She was coding at 10 years old.
Wow.
But she don't do it anymore because she don't care. To her, it's boring. Like, I don't want to do that anymore.
Right.
So, our kids we don't require them to, like, there's no bell that runs their life. They're not trying to rush back to class before the second bell rings, or there's no alarm clock in my house. I mean, my daughter has an alarm clock, but she never wakes up to it. So homeschool is it's legit, I will say.
Yeah.
But
I loved it. I mean, both of my kids knew what they wanted to do, where they wanted to be before they graduated high school. And I was proud of that. They were really focused and really hardworking. So that, I mean, and I'll give it to being homeschooled.
Well, I know you're proud, and this shouldn't sound weird, but I'm proud of you being a good dad and your kids, man. I know we talked about in private, but I will say this, Chris, like, no matter what, like, even my daughter, the way her college career closed out, it's not how I would have wanted, because I wanted to be more involved, but I wasn't.
Right.
But I will say that no matter where our kids are, man, they know that we love them.
Absolutely.
Right. No matter. Right.
I mean, that's, I mean, I think too, like, like we were talking about just a second ago, coming home, maybe having 30 minutes with your parents. Sometimes that 30 minutes is all you need, but sometimes you need a little more. And, homeschooling allows you that time to dive in, to understand your kids and to understand what they want, what they need, where they want to go, and then where you can help them get there. So, yeah. I appreciate. I mean, I appreciate all that time, and even at their age, I mean, they're adults, and those kids still show up at the house.
Yeah,
I'll
that's
cook
good.
dinner, and sometimes even Sims will stay 2 or 3 days at a time, go nowhere, and he's just like, I like it here, and I'm like, I know you should. So,
Well, he got a taste of the fast life too, right? Being in LA for a little bit.
oh, did he ever? Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard stories, and I was like, son, there are some things Dad doesn't need to know. And he's just like, oh, still gonna tell you, Dad.
I have a friend. So when we were in Hawaii, there was this kid. So at our church, there was these like housing, right? So this kid came. I think at the time he was 16, and for what I don't even know why he was out there, but gonna find out he was an American Idol contestant, and he went very high.
Yeah.
And very famous kid too, and I didn't even know at the time. I didn't care, but then when I watched his videos, I'm like, dude, his name is Carlos Guevara, and he had he was known because of Tourette syndrome. So he sang and he did well, even though having Tourette syndrome. It was a funny story, crazy story. We used to make fun of him because if he said something, it would trigger him. So we were very mindful of that. But yeah, he had a beautiful voice. But after he left Hawaii, I remember he called me. He says, "Hey, I'm gonna be back home, back in Hawaii for a few days. Would you mind?" It's basically we connected, and he had won a contract through Sony Columbia Records. I think Sony Columbia or Sony Records. I don't know if it's the same company, but Sony Records. Take that back, Columbia Records. So he got a record deal through them. And it sounds glamorous. But he told me that he started in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
He got the contract when he was in Nashville, but they told him, okay, we're going to fly you out to LA, and so you'll be staying at our, they had like a complex.
Right.
So they gave him a credit card, and a whole bunch of an amazing package deal. The deal was he had to write music, and he sits in the studio. That was his job. He would just write songs, but he couldn't go anywhere. He would have to just sit there and write. And he got so burnt out by just being in that. And of course, there's the other lifestyle that comes with that, right? Because you're in LA, so that's a bunch of the other stuff that comes with it. So when he was in Hawaii, all he wanted to do was just sit there and look at the ocean.
Yeah.
That's it. He didn't want to do nothing else. And so that LA lifestyle, it is a little bit of a faster pace. So
it's definitely interesting. The stories I've heard, which if you're going to talk to Sims, I'll let him tell you all the stories. But yeah, the stories I heard were they were interesting. Definitely interesting.
Well, let's go ahead and land the plane. I know you're a proud dad, and I'm glad that we spent some time. And there's a lot more things we can do. And I will say, if I am out there, I'll take you up on that offer to stay at your place for sure.
I've got 4 bedrooms and 3 baths. You will not be a problem, man. I'll house you for weeks.
We talk about on a few occasions of like land, vacant land, because I looked on Zillow. There's some really attractive properties out there that are super cheap.
Oh yeah, what you talking upstate area?
Just anywhere. I think one I looked at was I don't know the areas that well. I just looked in Malden, somewhere in Greenville, and some I think Greer.
Right.
I think is one of them. And some of them were just open lots. They were in residential areas. There was no house built on it. So some of the land is unbelievably cheap compared to what I'm used to. So
oh yeah,
we talk. Yeah.
So, yeah, you just need to move back, man. That's all it is.
Well, there's no way we'd move back. But if God opens a door where we can justify, here, I'll share the last dream. I'll close it out. But one of my dreams, we're we're really going to focus on it this year is finding a studio space where we can do multiple, like for podcasting, for obviously for ministry purposes, just basically equipping people that like can be counseling services or coaching service, but have a brick and mortar. It doesn't have to be big.
Right.
But one of the things I want is I want a nice studio space where we can do video production and doing this. And when we have friends come into town, say, hey, do me a favor, spend a couple hours with me at our studio, and let's just hang out, eat. I'll have, I want to have a grill, all that stuff.
Yes,
so
that's genius. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So that's the dream, and we'll see if that happens this year, or I don't know when. But
Heck yeah.
man, I want to before I do rapid fire, share something with me if you have anything. What's on your heart for today?
What's on my heart today? Probably, more than anything lately is probably even for the last 2 years, find peace. Search yourself, know who you are, and be at peace. Always be at peace. We've got plenty of room for chaos, and we've probably made too much brain space for chaos. Make space for peace, find peace, and live in it.
It's good. All right, here we go. Rapid fire. For anybody that's watching or listening, whenever I do rapid fire, we're about to land the plane. 10 questions. They're just, some of them are random, some of them are pre-typed or pre-written out, and it's just something to get our listeners and even our guests to. It's really a quick answer, and if it requires a longer explanation, that's fine. If it's something that you can't answer, we just go next question. So here we go. Number 1, why did you do this podcast today?
Because you're my brother. That's it. I mean, I love you. I love you like a brother. So anything you want to do, I'm with you 100%.
Much appreciated. Love you, brother. Number 2. What superpower would you choose? There's only 2 choices. First one is the power and ability to fly. That's your first superpower choice that you have. The second choice is, this is a stupid one, but the second choice is to have a guitar solo superpower. Anytime you play a guitar solo, it would create a laser effect where you could shoot people out with lasers. Which superpower would you choose?
Is it a terminal shot or is it just a tickle shot?
Up to interpretation.
Fly.
Number 3, Skittles or Sweet Tarts?
Skittles.
Number 4, A5 Wagyu steak or grade 1 ahi?
Ahi.
Good choice. That's a tough one because they're both amazing. Number 5, Southern barbecue or Texas barbecue?
Texas.
Number 6, finances not an issue, or if it's not even finance, if finances or logistics not being an issue, where do you travel to and stay there for a month?
Ireland.
Number 7, if you had to do it again, what would you change?
Oh, there's so much I would change. If I have to pick one thing I would change, I don't know. Even the good and the bad, man. I'm kind of good with everything, but if I had to change one thing, it would probably be it would be internal. It would be the way I viewed the world when I was younger.
Number 8, who do you love the most?
Okay, I was waiting for the back end of that question. There's no back end.
No. And you can justify your answer. I'll give you time to justify your answer.
Okay, who do I love the most? Me. Because
no justification needed, but go ahead.
I mean, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. You know, you got to take care of yourself. You got to be there for yourself. You got to make sure that your glass is full. If you're going to pour out into other people in any capacity, so you're number one always.
Number 9. Why do you get out of bed?
Because I have to pee.
Yeah. You know what's funny, bro? Hey, I know this is supposed to be rapid fire. So if you got a second, it's funny you say that because, bro, at this age, I think we pee more.
Yeah. No joke.
Isn't that weird? That's so funny. And my wife is like every time, and I'm not going to go into detail, but my wife is like, you shouldn't hold it in. You need to like go. I'm like, but I can. Like, I know how to hold it in. But then in reality, yeah, when it's time to go, I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning every day, and then probably at 5 or 6. Yep. And then, but you know what's funny about that is I used to, and this is just me, I'm not preaching, but I kind of am preaching because this is my podcast. I'll do whatever I want. But here's what I'll preach. I used to think that me going to the bathroom was just because I got to pee. And later I'm finding out, like, I said, oh, wait, God, did you want to have a conversation? You know, because I'm like, I'm just going to go pee and go right back to sleep. And the reason I said that, because it is those times for me that I get the most peace.
Yeah.
Phones are not ringing. My kids are not bothering me. My wife is asleep. And I found that those are the best times where I can get a legit engagement and relationship when it's that time.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Okay, all right. Sermon is over. Offering plate will be sent in the email. Number 10. What is your desire for the next generation?
That they put their phones down. I cannot tell you how much it irritates me that you don't see a child's face anymore. You literally see this. And, you know, that is not a green poverty bubble phone. But, you know, it's hard to have an interaction with anybody these days because they've always got their stinking phone in their face. I'd love to see, I don't know, I would just love to see human interaction again without devices, like the necessity, the importance of having that device and being connected all the time.
I'm guilty, bro. I have to force myself, and it's a mixed bag for me because a lot of, so, you know, like for example, income for me requires me to look at my phone. Yeah. So and that's kind of a challenge, but there should still be boundaries, right? So even me, I'm like, okay, my wife and I were like, okay, when we're doing personal family time, no phones, right? And that's hard too. Very
well,
hard.
You know, that's what Steph and I do at the dinner table. We will leave our phones on the kitchen island. Then we sit down, we eat, we talk, we catch up on what happened during the day. So we're getting into a healthier practice with our phones. But, you know, most of the time these days, unless it's, you know, the kids or Steph or you, J-Mac, or somebody close, you know, my phone will, you know, be sitting down and I might look and go, oh, there's Greg. And I'm like, I'll answer you right now. But everything else, I'll look and go, okay, there it is. But I won't even touch it. So, dude, I'm a crotchety old 50-year-old who's telling kids to put their cell phones down, pick up a book, or look at somebody in the eye for like 5 seconds. See what that's like. what I would do.
I don't normally add another question, but this is our closing question. Do you feel at 50 that you deserved or you earned another badge to where you can tell people what to do? Is it different at 50?
I don't think it's any different from 40 to 50. And I don't think I've earned a badge, but I think I've been on this big old ball of dirt long enough that I can have an opinion. You don't have to like it, but I can have an opinion. And I don't care what you think about my opinion.
I think at 50, you earn the right to fart in public, and people are like, oh, that's just an old man doing it. They're not going to harass you for that.
Bro, I will neither deny nor confirm whether that's true. I will say, though, when walking down the aisle at Trader Joe's in the cheese aisle, bro, you can fart and watch these yuppie young kids go, ooh, that's how I can smell the richness of that cheese. Yeah, you can. Thank you, drive-through.
Well, what a great way to end today's podcast with Chris, I love you, man. We'll hang out as soon as I end the broadcast, but thank you, brother, for being here, man. I appreciate your time, man. This is, it's a good chapter to write, for sure.
Bro, thank you for having me, man. It's fun. You know, I'm definitely not one of those guys that has monumental things to say, but I am a lot of fun.
There's some gold nuggets, but all right, brother, we're going to take you off, and thank you, man. I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, brother.
Family, thank you for hanging out. This is one of my favorites, and they're all good. I don't want to create a hierarchy, but this one's emotionally charged, and so I'm very grateful to have Chris in here. So if you enjoyed today's podcast, live stream, however you're watching us, do me a favor. If you liked it, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Make sure you like this, share this out, repost it, retweet it, whatever the terminology is. And to my Spotify, Apple Podcast family, we love you too, even though you are on a taped delay. On behalf of myself, Brother Chris, and our families, thank you for just spending time with us. And whether you're live or replay, we thank you. And I hope that the exchange of your time for what you listened to and what you heard was worth your time. So once again, family, on behalf of myself and both of our families, as I always say, love you guys. God bless you guys. Ahui hope, aloha, and mahalo. Yes, sir. Cheers.
Like this. It's a brand new day.